This is the Power Element Podcast, episode 33. I'm producer Paul. As always, thanks for joining us. Our special guests include Vice President of Power Utility Job Site Solutions, Steve Sarnocinski, aka Sarno, and Mike Dumoit, Senior National Account Manager from Milwaukee Tool. Everything from leadership, culture, and products gets covered in this impactful episode. We will get to the show, but first let me highlight a few of our promotional partners. First up, our premier partner, Milwaukee Tool. Since the company began in 1924, Milwaukee Tool has led the industry in developing innovative solutions that deliver increased productivity and unmatched durability for professional construction users. Visit MilwaukeeTool.com. Check them out on Instagram at Milwaukee Tool. Gelco. Gelco has been getting it right since 1892. Everything from utility, arborist, tower, and windmill products can be found on Instagram at Gelco Safety. Working athlete, check out their latest product, Rescue Hydration. It's an extensive rehydration formula. Use promo code POWERELEMENT at checkout to save yourself 20% off. You can find them at Working Athlete. Klein Tools. Check them out on Instagram at Klein_tools. You need to check out that new 16477 grip. This grip was highlighted on the bonus episode released previously with sales rep Megan Berry. Once again, you can find them at Klein_tools. Co Eyewear for your ANSI Z7 needs. Me personally, can't get enough of the A-phase style. I have the black frames and the tortoise frames. Use promo code POWERELEMENT to save yourself 15% off at checkout. You can find them on Instagram at Co Eyewear. Buckingham Manufacturing. You can find them on Instagram at Buckingham_MFG. Check out that new Buckpack Pro bag with Gear Garage. Part number 4378. Dragonware. Check out the Super Fleece. Fleece provides superior warmth without bulk or weight, all while remaining highly breathable. It's quick drying and durable. Head on over to dragonware.com. LiftSafety.com for all of your industrial safety supply needs. Once again, that's LiftSafety.com. I want to thank Ron Hill. Find him on Instagram at Hill Crane. Special thank you to Lineman Mama and High Voltage Commando. Thank you to Daniel Sanchez, son of journeyman lineman Easy Sanchez. Daniel provides us with all of our music. I'll put his detail in the show notes. All right, that's a wrap for us. This will be our last episode of 2022. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. I hope you all get the opportunity to spend some quality time with your loved ones. I want to thank everyone for the continued support. This was an exciting year for the podcast. We've seen some tremendous growth and seen some opportunities throughout the year that's leaving us extremely excited for 2023. So I want to thank all of you, our listeners. Truly appreciate it. All right, last but not least, I want to thank the entire Sturgeon Electric California workforce. Without you, this podcast would not be possible. All right, let's get to the show. The Power Element Podcast, Milwaukee Tool.
Episode 33. How you doing, Mr. Paul Salgado?
What's up, Raul? Long time no see, brother.
It's been a minute, man, but it feels good to be back in studio with you. Yeah, turn that down a little. Jeez.
I'm rocking that music, man. Feeling that vibe, getting that Christmas music going.
You getting ready for this? Episode 33?
I'm excited. It's been one in the making. Kind of plotted this one out since International Lineman's Rodeo, so I'm excited.
Made it back safely?
Made it back one piece. It was a good time.
Getting ready to close out the year and get ready for Christmas, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't believe it's already here. It was it came quick. This is always kind of a good time of the year to kind of see everything change. It's kind of one of the biggest changes you've seen throughout the shop. Sit back, reflect. Yeah.
How'd our podcast do all year? What'd you think? You happy with it?
Yeah, it did good. It was probably one of the bigger years for us as far as just that second year of branding, implementing, I guess, how that quote goes, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 20 years ago, but if not, it's you plant that tree now. So, I mean, I think we're seeing that.
Seeing it grow?
We're seeing it grow. We're seeing, got a lot of feedback from the International Lineman's Rodeo. People recognized the podcast this year more than they did the first year. So it's we're trending in the right direction. How about that? Tracking. Is that a good leadership word?
You did good, man. A lot of good episodes from those from that International Lineman's Rodeo. So appreciate all our guests. It was awesome.
Yeah, man.
So Christmas coming up.
I'm excited.
What do you want for Christmas?
Myself, I got my eye on a Milwaukee blower.
Oh, Milwaukee blower. I like that. Well, I was just about to mention that I'm sure every tradeswoman or tradesman out there wants Milwaukee under that Christmas tree.
Here, grab that top of your that silver part. Make sure you push it in. There you go. There you go. Stay in there. Let me hear you again.
Yeah, check.
All right, there you go. Gotcha.
Anyways, back to that little problem there. But yeah, I'm sure everybody wants Milwaukee under their Christmas tree, right? I mean, there's no doubt when they see that red box that underneath that gift wrapping paper. I mean, it's going to be something really good.
Tradesmen always want
something good
like that.
Something good. Yeah, exactly. So getting here to our show before we introduce our guests, I'm really excited. We got 2 guests, which is unique for us.
Hang on, how about you? You didn't. I spilled my beans. What you got?
You know what? I actually already got my Christmas present, to be honest with you. So just a kind of a fun story for our guests here before we introduce them. I went to ThriftCon over the weekend.
Is it like Comic-Con?
Well, kind of like VillainCon and all those cons. I took my daughter to ThriftCon. I know
people just making up shit now.
Trust me,
crazy.
It was something I was against, but had a great time with her. And I got me a 1990s Chicago Bulls starter jacket. And I was like, you know what, I got to get that because I owned one. I mean, I paid way too much for it, but needless to say, I got my Christmas present. I told my family I don't want anything else. As you know, I'm a Bulls fan, so I like it.
Are you?
Well, Michael, the era. I'll just say the era.
Oh, okay.
You know,
that's a hard era to beat.
I'm a Jordan fan, obviously. So, anyway, any other questions? This is my guess.
No, you're good. Yeah.
So
your show back.
I'm really excited here again, man. For all our listeners, we have 2 guests, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in a little bit. But welcome to the show. We have Milwaukee here present, and me and Paul were kind of going back and forth a little bit about Milwaukee. So obviously we're teeing this up. So we thought we'd give all of our listeners a little Milwaukee for Christmas, and I think every tradesman and tradeswoman would definitely appreciate that. So, Steve, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. And Raul and Paul, just want to say thank you for hosting us today. This is meeting you guys at International Lineman's Rodeo and getting this opportunity and this coming together so quickly has been awesome for us. We're excited to be here. But my name's Steve Sarnocinski. I'm our Vice President of Power Utility on our Job Site Solutions team.
Absolutely. Mike.
Yeah, man. And same thing to echo what Sarno says, man. This is always a good opportunity to meet with industry leaders, man. So thanks for allowing us to come over here and kind of speak on Milwaukee. But Mike Dumoit, Senior National Account Manager for Milwaukee Tool.
Dumoit, huh?
Dumoit.
Right.
Well, I can tell you what, we were talking a little bit before you guys got here and even out here in the lobby, and you guys just did a podcast with Ryan at Powerline Podcast. For all our listeners, we partner with Ryan all the time. Awesome podcast. I think it was something that resonated with me, and me and Paul talk, and all of our folks, we talk about how important the product is. But I think that podcast really opened my eyes to you guys as individuals, as running the company, and I was really impressed with it. And so when we were preparing for this podcast, I was like, man, how can we let our listeners know the behind the scenes about Milwaukee? I think it's more than a product, right? And although it's branded very well, like I was saying out there, when Milwaukee's at a trade show, that red truck or that red booth, or sitting at Home Depot, you know where to go to find that Milwaukee because of the way it's branded so well. And I want to kind of peel that onion a little bit today about branding and culture and leadership if we can. Does that sound good, Paul?
I'm ready, man. I'm excited.
I got a book that I know we have a military vet in front of us, Steve, so thank you for your service. Truly appreciate that. Respect it very well. And it's a book I want to reference to get us started before we go back down the history and go back in the time capsule for a little bit. It's Outlaw Platoon by Sean Parnell. Okay. Sean Parnell, interesting enough, I think shares your story a little bit, your background, because it kind of resonated with me. And and I'll just read a little bit about his background.
Okay.
At 24 years old of age, U.S. Army Ranger Sean Parnell was named commander of a 40-man elite infantry platoon, the 10th Mountain Division, a unit that came to be known as the Outlaws. Tasked with rooting out Pakistan-based insurgents from a valley in the Hindu Kush, Parnell assumed they would be facing a ragtag bunch of civilians until in May 2006, a routine patrol turned into a brutal ambush. Through 16 months of combat, the platoon became Parnell's family. The cost of battle was high for these men. Not all of them made it home, but for those who did, it was the love and faith they found in one another that ultimately kept them alive. So, interesting. This book has tons of stories that you can pull any kind of leadership quality out of it, any principle. It goes on and on and on and on. But I picked one that I want to talk about was branding, and I think it'll sit well with you guys too. So we can start the conversation for all of our listeners as well. So you got to put yourself here just to start in this book. This is Sean Parnell talking. All right, the men seem to be in good spirits. At the northeast corner of the perimeter, I found Sergeant Michael Emmerich in the truck commander's seat of his Humvee. Hunched over a sketch pad, he'd illuminated with his headlamp. So you got to picture that, right? We greeted each other, and I leaned on his door to peer over his shoulder at his latest creation. Emmerich was an outstanding NCO, non-commissioned officer.
Yep.
And team leader whose men loved him. He was also a gifted artist. A skill I'd recently tapped in by asking him to create an emblem for our platoon. When he had a break in patrolling, we were going to paint it on each of our vehicles. This is Sean Parnell talking right here again. "What you working on, Emmerich?" I asked. He showed me the sketch pad. "Jesus, man, that's outstanding." I said, looking at his creation, he'd drawn a fierce and toothy skull bursting from the O of Outlaws. "Is it finished yet, sir?" Emmerich said a little self-consciously. "Emmerich, this is perfect. We'll put it on every truck. That way the enemy will know who they are dealing with." "No, man, thank you. That image is going to give us our identity. When I had first taken over the platoon, I wanted to have our unique persona. We'd settled on calling ourselves the Outlaws, and he paid out of pocket to have T-shirts made for everyone. We'd also come up with our own guidon. We were the only platoon with one. By the time we got out there, we were known as the Outlaw Platoon throughout the brigade. Now, thanks to Emmerich's design, the enemy would get to know us as well." So I thought that was interesting in this little leadership moment. Sean Parnell had the leadership quality, the foresight to, give it to his guy to have buy-in, to build a logo, if you will, for their platoon, just to know that they're coming. And I think Milwaukee does that. You guys brand it so well that your competitors know. We'll just call them an enemy, but they're not. But they are, they know you're coming. And it's that red, it's that quality, it's everything that Milwaukee brings to what you guys do. And I want to go back, obviously, but just thought I'd tee that up. What do you think about that, Paul?
Dude, you tied it in perfect. And I think kind of the way to sum that up is it's more than a brand. It's a recognition. It's you're speaking about a culture, quality. But yeah, obviously that Milwaukee red branding, it's synonymous within the trade. So it's and outside the trade too. But yeah, way to tee it up. I think that's great. Great way to tie it in.
Any comments?
Yeah,
Steve?
I think what's interesting, kind of just thinking about the Milwaukee journey, if you will, I think that is how we're perceived now, if that makes sense. But if you were to look back to when Mike and I started, we were looking at some other brands that way. And we needed to figure out, I think, as a company, how do we rally our team and start to get our identity? So I think we'll talk about it a lot today, but I think that's instantly where my head went. Was I love to hear that you guys think that about us, and I love when our users come to us and say that they use our products, they love our products. But it's been over the last decade plus, that identity has formed, and it's been a lot of people that have helped us create that identity, if that makes sense. The Milwaukee brand was always strong, right? 1924. Yeah. But that brand has changed immensely, in my opinion, over the last decade plus.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how and we'll talk about the power utility division. But yeah, you take in Milwaukee, a great company already, and then you're peeling off another division that's going to start something and be something that's going to be reckoned with, right? And kind of an outlaw platoon, if you will, that has to go out and make a name for themselves. And there's a reason for it, right? And I think it's very significant in this discussion today. But before we get into all that, we'd love to hear kind of like your guys' history, right, Paul? Get back a little bit, go back in time a little.
I would say one thing.
Yeah, go
for
for
I'm
it.
staring right at it, and it just kind of jumped out at me. So we have our Milwaukee lineman brand right behind you, and I think that's so. 2015 is really when the team started to form in a bigger way. And as it grew, we knew we needed to have our own identity. And if you look at the Milwaukee, that was a somewhat of an act of Congress to get that to put that together, because like you guys said, like our brand is very significant. We do not deviate. We don't like to touch it. And to get our brand team to approve our brand as a part of the lineman logo, like that was a big step for us, where we found our identity.
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was basically we took the Milwaukee brand and we wanted to mesh it with the lineman culture, because when we kicked this off in 2015, we saw that this is a true culture, a brotherhood, a sisterhood, just a top industry to be a part of. So we had to come back to our brand department and go, okay, look, we want to be a part of this, and we want to be a part of it more, just a relationship this way. We want to be ingrained with them to showcase what we're doing for the industry.
Cool. I think it's a tradesman
and
too.
you guys done that.
Yeah, tradesmen too. You want that ownership. You want that piece of identity yourself a little bit.
And I think that's what's been cool is like obviously we have products that appeal to the masses, right? But for us to then, to your point, peel that onion back and say, how can we get 100% focused on the lineman trade and start developing unique solutions for you guys that makes your life easier? Like that's been a part of the most exciting part of the journey, is seeing how this thing has grown from one or two products to where we're at today.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're just getting
We're getting there,
started,
man. We're getting it.
We're getting there, but you're getting ahead of the game here a little bit, man. Now, well, if we could start, if we could just talk about kind of your history, what makes you you, that'd be awesome.
How long do you have?
We got as much time as you want, like I said, man. Whatever's significant for you.
Yeah. So, born and raised outside of Philly. Consider myself a Philly kid. I got to say, go Birds! Obviously having a season this year.
Amazing.
12-1, right?
12-1.
Amazing season.
And honestly, when I really think about what makes me, I mean that the area that I grew up in is what makes me, right? Like all of us. And I told this to the guys that are in the room with us today and my team, but that underdog mentality is really a piece of Philadelphia culture. And that's part of, I think, the chip on the shoulder, the underdog mentality. That's what drives me every single day. So, obviously, there's been a long list of I've mentioned Rocky in the past. That 2008 Philadelphia Eagles team was by no means the best team in the league. And then this year with the Phillies, they were by no means supposed to be there. And I think that's why the city rallied around it. But Philly's a part of me, right? And everywhere I've moved, it's come with me. So I've moved a significant amount of times. I went to school at Dickinson College, did ROTC, did the Army. I was in 4 years, did 2 tours to Baghdad and back, got back, tried to find a job. Luckily I was connected to TTI, which is our parent company, and landed a gig I was living in Florida at the time, landed a gig in Philly. And since then, I've went Philly to New York, New York to Philly, Philly to Hawaii, Hawaii to Vegas, Vegas to Philly, Philly to Charlotte, Charlotte.
Man, how old are you?
Yeah, so there's
I just want to know how you remembered all that in order. I'm going to replay that back.
Honestly, that's part of,
Yes.
I think, like you asked, like kind of me, right?
Yeah.
The unique experience that I've had is I've got to work with a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people. I've had to mesh, right? It's not easy going to Hawaii and fitting in, and being on an island by yourself and selling power tools, right? But those kind of experiences helped what kind of mold me, right? And along the way, having the journey that we've had as Milwaukee, I mean, Milwaukee's a part of me, to be honest with you guys. Just the journey that we've had and the people we've done it with. I've known Mike and Brent and these guys for a really, really long time, and that's been part of my journey, right? I should also mention that obviously married. My wife Sarah is a big part of my journey as well. She's obviously been with me the whole time, which is absolutely crazy when you talk to some people about that. The amount of moves that we've made together. We were together in the Army, all that good stuff, and she's my rock. But that's a little bit of my story, man.
Can we talk a little bit about your military career, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, could you just give us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about I grew up in a family that I was not my direct parents, but my grandparents. I had multiple uncles, etc., cousins that were all in the military, and I grew up around. My grandparents lived with us. They summered in Florida, and then they wintered in Florida. Came up and lived with us in the summer, and they were both World War II veterans. One cool thing about my grandmother is she took an oath to never tell anybody what she did in World War II. And she never told anybody.
Wow.
She took it to her grave. So things like that I remembered, right? But I was in college. I remember I was in Montreal on spring break, and Operation Iraqi Freedom broke out. And for some reason, that kind of just pulled me in because I felt like I wasn't a part of something. I was playing football, I was doing all that stuff in school, but something made me that next month go in and say, hey, I want to do ROTC. So I did ROTC, commissioned second lieutenant in 2005, reported to Fort Hood, Texas. Within a month, I was in Baghdad. I was in Baghdad for a year with my platoon. Got back. We trained another 15 months, went back, and we were there 07, 09. And then got back, and that was obviously at that time, that was a lot on a young dude, right? You're 22 years old. You're from your 22 to 26, you were gone 2.5 years of your life. She wasn't my wife at the time, but with someone that I knew would be my wife. And I've said it before, it was a great experience for me because very rarely do you as a young person get to experience leadership in that manner, right? I got to mold with my platoon. I learned, stepping in as a young guy at 22, you're in charge of 40 people. They tell you instantly as a young lieutenant, young officer, you need to lean on your NCOs. And I was very fortunate to have some pretty incredible people, Sergeant Zaliza, Sergeant Kennedy, that really helped me as a young person be like, this is what will resonate with the guys, and this is how you need to communicate with them. So anyway,
we'll touch on that. That's awesome, man.
We'll
touch on that.
So for me, great management leadership experience, great life experience. And was very, very fortunate to stay connected with a lot of the people throughout my career. So, man,
thank you for that.
I
appreciate that. Mike's looking lonely over here.
It's hard to even follow up a story like that.
Mike, it's your turn, man. Let us know what makes you you.
It's going to be very short. From born and raised in Houston area, right? Grew up close with family. It was actually a side note with Sarno being from Philly and being from Houston. It was great to watch the World Series via text. A lot of smack talking back and forth. But no, this Houston. If Houston gets kind of a bad rap for a lot of stuff, right? But it's the fourth largest city in the U.S., but it's still a kind of like a community, right? People still know everyone in that damn town. You can't go anywhere. Witnessed this past weekend, wife and I and some friends did some date nights, and we all run into people that are 45 minutes away from us. That's how it works. But so this born and raised in Houston, family's always been close. My dad and my mom grew up owning their own type of business, printing equipment. So watching them work, looking at that entrepreneurial spirit and business owner kind of instilled that with me, right? Always growing up, I would ask Dad questions about business and trying to understand business and just get more involved with it. My parents still live, relatively close. I talk to them every day. I see them, at least once a week. And then being married to my beautiful wife, Amy, and then having 3 kids, Caden, Bo, and Ty. Yes, we have a bow tie. We did not.
I didn't catch that. Did you?
We did not think that through when we named them. And if you're a '90s fitness, we have a tie bow.
Oh, there you go.
So Billy Blanks there. So that's
pretty cool,
a
man.
story. So Pretty good. Nothing like this gentleman here to my right.
Oh, come on.
No, I like it. So, you guys, interesting time around the World Series, and I take it.
Yeah,
We're feeling in Houston.
Yeah, I luckily went to the one game there. They hit like 5 homers.
That was Halloween.
Yeah, and next night they got no hit. We don't
I
talk
think
about that.
I think Paul had a little leadership question and sent a little something you want to talk about. Interesting story. During that World Series. I remember you mentioned it to me.
Yeah, I believe it was game 3. You're talking about Alec Boom, getting ready to go up. Philly, there you go. Getting ready to go up after Bryce Harper just hit a home run. Bryce calls Alec to the dugout and whispers a little something in his ear. Alec proceeds to hit another home run. And it's just kind of that leadership piece that Raul and I talk about, where you're always constantly communicating, where you're passing that good information on to set up your brother, your coworker, your leader. Just, what if Bryce Harper has that lapse, or is so self-centered on his thoughts, but he shares that information with another teammate, and obviously the outcome was great in that game. I believe they won that game, but obviously they
You said it was great.
That was a game I was at.
Wait,
That was a game.
That was
That
a game
was
you were
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Paul.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
But just that leadership piece of Bryce humbling himself and passing that information along. I know it's kind of easy to think that that's probably something that someone might naturally do, but I think there's a lot of that's what leadership is, right? Just passing the information along, getting that good information out there. So, you guys have any thoughts on that?
It's I'll tee that up for a second. So, it's like that decision-making quality. And that at that point, it's a decision-making quality. I think you're using all the information available to you to make that decision at that moment, right? And I think that's our leadership skills that we try to develop along the way. It's not easy to do, but I think that's what that was, in my opinion. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think so. Bryce is one of my favorite players. I'm going to say that. He's one of his leadership quotes is on my phone, and I'll probably murder this, but it's along the effects of, if people aren't laughing at your goals, they're probably not high enough. So I'm a big Bryce fan, and I think in that situation specifically, I think one thing I think that we do extremely well, and it's exhausting at times, but we have to do it because we've grown so fast, is that communication piece, alignment piece. And that's the reason they won. They figured out he was tipping his pitches, right? And if Bryce didn't share that, I don't know if the rest of the team would have done that. So I love it. It's the communication piece.
And that goes along in the line work too, Raul. I mean, just whether it's coworker, lineman to lineman, hey buddy, check out that pole, check out that arm, check out, that wire, or just a foreman from the tailboard, or just that maybe a general foreman conversation, just passing on that tidbit of information.
Yeah, I mean, communicating is critical. I think it's probably the most critical thing out there in the trade. It could solve a lot of our problems too if we just communicated better. And I think as we get into this like newer workforce, I'll just say it, it's unique in a sense. It's not bad because there's a lot of talent, but I think there's a challenge in that communication piece just because of the way society is today. I mean, it's just so fast, so quick, so easy to grab onto things, and we lose that. Funny story, you guys will laugh, is back in the day, like my daughter's 13, so she's going to be 13. So you know what that's about, right? It's about texting and, B-reels and TikToks and whatnot.
Not putting creases in your shoes.
Not putting creases in your shoes is another one. I mean, when we went to ThriftCon, come on. But no, it's that workforce, and obviously my daughter's not working, but that environment's there for everybody, and it's harder to communicate. And so when I go visit crews, and I know like you guys are leaders, when you go to your team, if there's not a lot of talking or communicating or problem solving or that dialogue, I get nervous. Like, why aren't we talking? Like, come on, guys, I want to hear some stuff, right? Just the basics. I mean, to your point, like the communication, and we have to work at it because there's the other society that's coming right behind us. That's really, it's challenging. Yeah. And it's just different.
The over communication, that's what we call it. Right?
Yeah.
If you guys saw my wife still like busts on me the amount of text that we send a day is unbelievable, to be honest with you guys. And that's multiple text. I mean, that's how people communicate now, right? And we have talk about sub branding. This probably isn't the best sub branding for us, but if you guys didn't know, our Power Utility Leadership Team is the Eagle Fang Dojo. Just so you guys know, we're big Karate Kid people. We were gonna go and try to find
Fang, Eagle Fang Dojo. I like it.
Johnny
Lawrence.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah. But we have constant texts every single day, and to your guys' points, I mean, the one thing I know we talked about COVID before this, and again, it was not a good thing.
It was cool, right?
No,
Mike?
It was not a good
It
thing.
wasn't cool.
But one thing it did, I think, for us, just that since we grew by multiple billion during that time frame, and we added thousands of people during that time frame. But honestly, I know a lot of us cringe when we talk about teams, but that's one thing that helped us stay connected through it all and helped us stay communicating, because we still had a business to run, even though we might not have been able to see you guys, right? We might not have been able to walk in the door, but how did we figure out how do we continue to service you guys in a different way? But we don't have to go down that path. But I was just thinking about communication. That was one thing that since that time frame, I think we communicate triple fold, if that is even a word.
Yeah. No, I think it was a challenging time. We've talked about it on this podcast before, and we learned from it too. How to better communicate, and try to be a little bit more innovative in what we're doing with our crews, with our clients,
But it's also communicating. Sorry to interrupt you, Raul.
No,
but
you're fine.
it's also communicating. I think when you think communication, it's the bad or the heads up, but it's the good, man. Hey, that worked. Hey, it worked if we set the truck up here in this instance, or in your guys' case, whatever that looks like, pointing to sales or just the relationship piece. But I mean, I think it's all voicing that communication of either bad or good, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what drives back to our culture. I know we'll talk about it, but our culture, that's kind of what we lean on, of we're able to do certain things because we all operate under that one cultural expectation, right? Different key points of it, but, continuous improvement and communication. We hire a lot of new people off the college campuses that go through what we call our LDP program, Leadership Development Program, and then they come into our side of the business, and we got to take them under our wing and kind of show them the basics of business. Show them how to communicate with customers, how to interact with customers. And sometimes, being in the business, I've been with Milwaukee, 17 years, you make assumptions that people should know some certain of the basic stuff, and they don't even. And you got to go back in there, you're not being a jerk or nothing, just kind of give them those guiding principles, like this is the appropriate way to do it. Here's how you interact with the customer. Here's how you fulfill their needs and solve their solutions, right? Or solve their problems by providing the solutions. And, having that going kind of with that Bryce thing is, something small. He saw something based off of his being a veteran of the game, passed on that little tidbit information. And unfortunately, I will say unfortunately, we saw the outcome of that particular game. So
I think just to piggyback on that with Mike a little bit. So one thing that I'm sure a lot of guys that are listening to this realize is we are growing really, really fast. And even in the power utility division, we've grown really, really fast. But with that growth comes change. And the stat that I think is really crazy to some people is we had 32 new people start during that 2020 to 2021 timeframe. So to Mike's point, and for us, we're not linemen. So how do you get someone that's coming in that's used to calling on retail or another channel that we have in our business and get them trained on the jargon in this industry, right? The acronyms in this industry, the application in the industry. So we had to figure out pretty quickly in that time frame how we communicate not only with each other, but how do we make sure the team is feeling comfortable with what we need to do every day. So
I think. Go ahead, Raul.
You want to talk through that a little bit? Or, yeah.
But for sure, I wanted to say just to a point where, for us, it's different. Sturgeon Electric, California, we're operating in a square mileage of just being able to drive to one another. And Raul, if you need to be somewhere, you can go. If you need to be in the high desert yard, you can get up there and have the impact. But we're talking about a national team like Milwaukee. We got Jeremy here who works with us and Brent. But just having that communication skills that you're working with people that are through webcam or just like phone conversation and getting that training, I think that's a skill.
I wanted to touch more on. You said you had a challenge there of hiring new people. So what did you guys do? You had 30 or so people that you had to get cut in on, not just the products, but the jargon. You said the application. So did you guys do something? You must have did something unique there because it obviously probably worked.
There you go.
Good.
Well, no, I was going to say,
Go ahead, Mike.
in that year, the world shifted, right? So we all had to kind of go back to our desk and learn how to communicate on a virtual platform. So that was news to all of us, right? So how to, some people don't know how to hook up their computer. So you got to kind of show them, again, going back to the basics, but then how do we engage with customers, right? People were, having Teams calls or Zoom calls or whatnot, especially for the 32 that we hired. Like their first introduction to a customer was, the Zoom call, right? This, whatever, like their face, and that was it. So we had to teach them the basics of here's how you interact with the customer, and then here's the product. So we had to do virtual product symposiums and virtual product learnings. We had to shift that. We had to make it a virtual world, and then coming out of it, I think that's what Sarno was about to talk on was, okay, so that year and a half, 2 years, call it, of virtual living. Now, how do we readdress those people to go actually have interaction in person, and how do we get go to a job site and see those trade specific applications and really learn from that?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we did luckily there was that little window, and we partnered with an AJATC down in Noonan, Georgia, that we put our entire team through a lineman boot camp, so they get to learn. They get to use our tools, competitive tools, hand tools, whatever it takes in order to put themselves in very awkward positions that you guys are in every single day. And that helps them understand. For right now, when we were going through that, it was all textbook, right? We didn't get to have that hands-on experience. So we leveraged all the resources that we possibly had within Milwaukee Tool, including product managers or those subject matter experts. We have guys like Brent that's in this room right now he's been around long enough that he can be that point of reference for that young territory manager that's on our team. But where we really came out of that and got the team 100% functioning is when they got their hands on. And they got to learn what the industry really is outside of teams.
Yeah, you guys, the apprenticeship program is all hands-on.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Not partial textbook learning.
Right.
And it's all hands-on. So like we said, we want to be a part of the industry and mold with it. We got to understand it. We can go show off a product and say, look what it does, but put them in an application of, strapped to the pole, leaning over, crimping on the secondary or whatever. That's going to be a different application. That's really what sets us apart too.
I think it's innovative. Just touching on that conversation, is that because you had to think about it ahead of time, right? Like you can't just. I guess you could have just put everybody out there and say, "Oh, go do your," without training, go for it and see how it turns out. But that's not what you guys did as a company, which I thought was really unique. Is that something you think you could like go back to the military? You think that you learned that from, or is that something you guys just thought about as a team, or is that something from the early life or your childhood? Because to me, that's not something that is easy to do. We talk about it. You guys talk it like humble brag a little bit, like it's easy. But I mean, you're coming into a brand new area or division, I should say, right? And I'm probably skipping over a little bit because I know a little bit more about you than our listeners. I'm sorry, but like the foresight and the thinking of that, where does that come from? Is that from the executive leadership at Milwaukee, or is that something that, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm getting at, Paul?
Oh, good question.
I'd say it's, I know we're going to talk about culture a little bit, but
Yeah.
My head instantly went to one of our cultural values that we have everywhere is empowered leaders. And I'll give Brent, who's behind me, a lot of credit for that one, along with a guy named Kyle Zagowitz, who's still on our team in a different capacity. But they came to us. We have a great relationship with that training center. They worked with them. They said, "Hey, what if we partner with you guys? Like we're gonna grow, right? We were 2 guys, now we're a lot. And how can we make sure that we are competent in talking to linemen in the field?" And they came to me with the plan. To be honest, this wasn't something that gets pushed down, or this is part of our culture. To be honest with you guys, is people come to us with ideas. And we'll talk about the bucket truck, I'm sure, at some point today. But people come with ideas, and if it makes solid sense and there's going to be a significant return on investment, go. Like we're not bureaucratic, right? It's let's do the best thing for the employee, for the people, and we can prove that we can drive this business.
So that's where I think it's unique, very unique, in being very trade specific for our trade, right? As linemen, as guys that are out there working on working with the tools. If I have a problem with Milwaukee, there's a solution more than likely that if I'm not aware of it, and if there is something I need to bring to the table, I can easily share that. There's guys that come out all the time, just are here locally for our reps. Hey, how's this working? We're thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? And I just think you rely on the experts for feedback, and I think there's a lot of value and respect in that too.
So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, our marketing team, they travel, just as much, if not more than we do. And the term is user-driven innovation, right? It's not us coming out with the next widget and say, here you go. It's us coming to do the research, doing the fact finding, asking the questions, and want to deliver those solutions. Why are you doing this? Well, why is it a 5-step process? Why are you hanging out the bucket? Whatever the thing is. And it all comes from the field, right? And then we take it back and take all the marketing data, and we want to compile it and come back with, a prototype, round 1 of the prototypes, and say, hey, what's your thoughts on this, right? We do this daily, hourly. It's right now, back at Brookfield, Wisconsin, where our HQ is, that's what they do. Mm-hmm. And, partnering with you guys and Sturgeon and whoever else in the industry leads us down that path. And Sarno leads the team, and the cool thing is we're focused. Our team is strictly the utility team. We want to talk to utility type of customers, no more, no less. Nothing against. We have different divisions and different different divisions and different segments of our company that talk to the plumbers, electricians, mechanical, automotive, whoever else. We're strictly a utility team, which allows us to drive that focus.
Yes, I think there's a lot in there, and I think it's. How do you get to that point? And guys, I want to peel this back a little bit, because from a leadership perspective, that's what we're trying to do here, right? As contractors, as tradesmen, like, we're trying to empower our workforce with the buy-in to take the lead and the initiatives to do the right, not just do the right thing, but also to get better, right? And if we continue, because I guess that's the culture that I'm used to, like, coming up in the trade. It was always, they call them the Indian tricks, right? Like the Indian tricks in the trade. Let me show you how, we don't do it like that. We do it like this. And, the time was taken to teach me a trade, but to also respect it enough to where you push it forward. Does that make sense? And I think we're losing that a little bit. So you guys at Milwaukee, I just find it very fascinating, because when did the power utility division start? In 2015?
13, 14, 15 is really when it got legs.
So interesting. We'll go back there just slightly. That was around the same time we started Sturgeon back. It was like 2015. All right, just kind of food for thought here to start. And I sat down with a tool supplier, right? And he has every tool I want. He can give me X, Y, Z, company B, anything you want. And one of the innovative things that had to happen. We just had this conversation with him the other day.
Yep.
And I asked him if you remembered that conversation, and he did. I said, you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for a single battery platform for everything, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I think the only one is Milwaukee right now, and that's kind of what probably the direction we need to go in if that's the case. Because I came from a company that had every single battery. We had 7 chargers on this. Every tool had a different, every tool is a different battery, and then you had to have chargers for that batteries, and it was a mess.
Yeah. But as a leader, Raul, why are you asking him that question? Why? What's the benefit of that, though?
Why am I asking these guys this question?
No, you. Why are you asking your supplier that question?
I'm asking that because I want the functionality, but I want also the cost thing, right? There was a thing in the back of my head that I wanted some organization. I wanted to set a culture or a brand within our company to say, hey, it's pretty simple over at Sturgeon. They got one battery, one tool, one option, and it makes sense. Yep. Because in our business, there's tons of options, right? You can go any way I want to. But when it was presented, it was purely product. I was like, oh yeah, it's awesome. They got the 6-ton, they got the hard money gun, if you will, the impact guns, right? They had everything, cutters. And then I just saw in front of my eyes, as the years went on, the more engagement, involvement from your team. Your technical guys would come out, like if we had an issue, we're thinking about doing this. And then the hand tools were coming out. Like it just seemed like you guys did a full court press from 2015 till now. And you're not stopping. And that's what I kind of want to talk about, the leadership piece of that, is that where does that come from? The innovative. I know we're going to talk about I want to hear about the culture, because when I heard the podcast from Ryan, and I mentioned it to you guys earlier, is the product's great. I don't think anybody out there in the trade, whether you're a plumber, electrician, a lineman, whatever you're doing, if you got a bag of tools, there's a Milwaukee tool in that bag, guaranteed, and it's got a battery attached to it. But I want to know where that came from a leadership perspective, because that is, I don't know if it's tied back to the military from your point, Steve. I don't know from Mike, if what you guys do to collaborate, but can we peel that back a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I would say, and we can. It's tops down and ground up, I think, is my opinion.
Yeah.
We had, and I mentioned this at the front of the podcast here, in the 2006-07 timeframe. That wasn't us, right? And we're all very fortunate to be under a very incredible leader, Steve Richman, who's our group president at Milwaukee Tool. And he came in and he assembled an executive team that really came in and disrupted the culture of Milwaukee Tool. We were very heavily focused on corded product. We're known for the Sawzall, right? The corded Sawzall, the right angle drill, hole shooter. We're known for some of those things. And that was the mentality of the group that worked at Milwaukee at that time. And he came in and completely disrupted that mentality and said, we're going to be focused on disruptive innovation, and we're going to lead with lithium-ion technology. And we're going to do exactly what you just mentioned, is we're going to create a power source that we're going to be able to create a lot of different solutions for our end users off of. And we're going to be 100% focused on the user. And we're not going to make, we're not going to play the game of, hey, our router is 10% better, right? We're not going to play that game. We're going to play a game of how can we bring innovation to the user. So he came in and disrupted, that team came in and disrupted the entire mindset. And basically, you got on the bus or you got off, is an easy way to put it. And in that same time frame, Milwaukee was acquired by a company, TTI. I mentioned it earlier. And when I say, so that's the tops down, right? Steve and his team created a culture from the start, like we're going to focus on lithium-ion technology, and we're going to be disruptive, and we're going to change the game in this industry from a power tool perspective. And then ground up, we have what I think is part of our secret sauce is a farm system where we're a lot of us are homegrown, right? We come up through the organization, and that's extremely important for us because you get to understand the culture from the day you start, and it's not for everybody. And those of our team that are around that were it hasn't been easy, right? When we started, I don't like throwing numbers out here, but we've grown 20% year over year for the last decade plus. And that sounds awesome, but there's a lot of hard work and grit that went into doing that, and a lot of people that are still around today that helped get us there. So I think it's that hard work, kind of that scrappy mentality that we had back in the day to get us to where we're at today, coupled with an incredible leadership vision from our leadership team that just married up and kind of, in a nutshell, I don't know if Mike agrees, that's kind of how we got here today is you married a hungry sales team, hungry product team, gritty, scrappy, with a great vision and plan. And that's, and we can peel that onion back.
Was there any setback? It had to have been some setbacks because you're talking.
Oh my gosh.
You're talking a huge.
So many.
It's bringing a new culture in, new team in, right? You got, like Sarno said, you got to get off the bus, and what's the old? I'm probably butcher this saying, but we're like a duck, right? So what you can see, we're on top of the water, we're calm as hell, or we're calm, but below the water, we're paddling like hell to get there. That's how it was.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, you didn't see that, right? And just having that culture come back and say, hey, look, this is who we're going to be, right? We're not going to be everyone. We want to target the skilled trades, right? Those are the people who know our brand. And it was an older generation that knew our brand, to be frank with you. The younger generation had a different brand choice, and we had to come in there and say, hey, the older generation is starting to retire, getting to the age, and we got to kind of reinvent ourselves and come out with the brand of Milwaukee. It was kind of like the old bar test, right? When I was young in my 20s, I would ask people, Milwaukee, and it was always, no, it's the beer company. We're the power tool company. They knew a different brand, but now our brand has been elevated and people recognize it.
And I think, honestly, the one thing that the lithium piece is obviously the game changer, right? But from a mentality standpoint that Steve and the exec team instilled in all of us is that obsession with the user. Everything that we do, every decision that we make, I've said this multiple times, comes from you guys. And we just mentioned it a little bit with having the product team engaged, having our local team engaged, having up and down the organization from our president down. We want to be connected with you guys to understand what we're doing well and what we're not doing well so we can fix it. And then to your point, has it been easy? From a business standpoint, no. I mean, we've gone through a lot of different challenges that in some cases we kind of just we put our head down and tried to run through the wall. And we've learned sometimes that that's not always the best thing. But we've always managed, and it's something that we do with our team. We always, like, our journey's been incredible. We've been through incredible growth, but we always try to take a couple steps back and remember those times where it was extremely challenging, or remember where we came from, type of thing. And that's something that if you ever, listen to Steve talk, he always talks about where it was, because he wants to remind everyone that wasn't along with that journey what we ran into along the way. So I think that's, I don't know if that
old, you said where it was. How old is the company, Milwaukee?
1924. So we're going to be 100 years old here soon.
Yeah.
So
100 years old. I mean, it's all corded at the time, obviously. What was
heritage
it, like?
products.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys still have some of that stuff like laying around to like drive that culture, like old tools and like, because like you go to my office, I got nothing but old stuff, old insulators, just to remind myself, old cross arms, old fuse, just to remind like kind of the infrastructure, where we came from. I got an old pair of Kleins, I got an old skinny knife, I got a Wiggy. I mean, I got certain things that we had that we don't have anymore. Old pole tongs, like I keep it around just to remind myself. Do you guys have some stuff like that? Some heritage stuff?
Yeah, and hopefully you guys get to come up at some point. But we have, when we do tours with customers or distributors, any partner of ours, the first thing you see is our history hallway. So we get to take take the story, right, and relate it to everybody so they understand where it came from, right? And in a lot of ways, it came from a couple gentlemen that had vision and innovation. They were an electric motor company, right? And Henry Ford came to them and said, will you make us a tool that'll improve my processes? And they came out with the hole shooter. So, and then
what's a hole shooter? Like a hole hog?
A quarter drill.
Oh, just a quarter drill.
Yeah, to work on the assembly line. Yeah.
Wow. Did you know that?
No. Well, there's more. Like Henry Ford, there's a lot of charcoal. Charcoal came from the Ford manufacturers, like a byproduct. Like there's all kinds of weird shit from automotive products.
Did you see that same video on TikTok? I saw the charcoal one recently. I thought it was pretty cool.
Kingsford? I can't remember. Like it was his cousin from.
Yeah. It was
anyways,
cool.
Sorry, geeking out. We have to have Kingsford on here.
We're right here.
No, but from a leadership perspective, like it's cool, right? It's cool, like a heritage hallway. That's dope. But
that quarter drill was a beast. I mean, it was great for its time, but now you're talking the lithium ion. Yeah. You're talking ergonomic, light, not just one light. You have like 3 lights now on some of the impacts now. Like it's like like Raul said, that heavy heritage, that foundational piece of equipment, like that's like grassroots, man. That's like that's showing that
hold that thought for you about the product. I'm talking about like now going into like employee retention, right? So you're talking about bringing in new people, and they see this awesome hallway or whatever you're doing. They see a company that's not just products. That's my point. Like to the vision of showing like where we came from. We're going to put you through some training. Like you're building a workforce to go out and sell product. I get that, but to me, it's more than a product. You know what I mean? Like I know what Paul's saying, that the products come a long way, and it's
I like where you're going. I
like where you're going. Like for me, as a guy that runs a company, I'll just say,
humble brag.
Well, I don't want to say like, I'm vested, right?
Sure,
I'm vested in it.
Yeah.
You got it.
But I can tell you what brought me here was Sturgeon's 1914, right? Been in business a long time. The senior level management that I work for is all about culture, leadership, safety. And I bought it. I had the same values did not serve in the military or anything like that. But I was raised in a certain sense that those values came with me, and I felt a connection with the company that I worked for, right? And so I don't know if that's kind of like where this success is coming from, but me outside looking in, like I want to work there, right? You know what I mean? Like,
come on.
So maybe when I retire, that'd be a cool job to retire, wouldn't it? Sell in Milwaukee.
There you go.
I got 10 years left.
Take Jeremy's job.
I mean, one thing just to I just want to point out is you see this man's passion talking about it. We're talking about a job. We're not talking about sports or anything. We're talking about our day-to-day life, a career. Mm-hmm. And this is this passion that he has. This is contagious throughout our whole organization, right? We truly have that passion of delivering the right solutions for our customers, and it's 1,000 times we say it on this podcast. It's that cultural drive that gets us there.
Yeah. I mean, Steve always says for us, and these guys are going to know where I'm going already, but bookends of our business are people and culture. We wouldn't be where we're at today without those two things. And the people side for us, every decision we talk about the user internal, when we think internally, every decision that we make is focused on the employee and the people that we have. It's, numbers are one thing, but the people are how we got here, and that's the decisions that we make is based on the people that we have.
But those decisions that you're making, and you're right, at the end of the day, you have to push the sales and you have to get the product out there and you have to get the buy-in from the guys to use it because there's so many options.
Yep.
But I think you're seeing your company through that product, right? You're seeing all the leadership and everything. You see the culture, the people, the training. You're seeing all that build up so that at the end of the day, when that lineman grabs that hard money gun and he sees how it's built, and he sees how it works, it was built with some care in it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And then from somebody that purchased the tools or somebody wants to partner with a company, if you can see that, that lineman using that tool in that sense, and it's safer for him, it's quicker for him, it's better for the company. I think it's just a win-win for everybody. And that's what I want to do with this podcast is really show our crews, our companies, everybody that listens to this, that Milwaukee's more than just a product. And that's what me and Paul were talking about. You can go to all the big name brands of everything we love out there. But when you think about Milwaukee, I think of something that's more deeper than just a great product. There's a whole value. You guys care about your people. You care about the training. You care about the user. We can talk about how you partner up with the JTCs. I mean, you guys partner up with every single JTC out there, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So there's 9 of them across the country. Do you guys know how many that you partner up with? I know here locally you do.
All 9, yeah.
All 9?
Yeah.
And utilities, right?
Utility training centers, absolutely.
Utility training centers. Maybe we'll go down that road a little bit if you guys don't mind, like what you guys do there.
Yeah, because I think that talks to really the strategy that's evolved since 2015. We talk about being obsessed with the user, and for us, that was being connected from day one with that day one apprentice. Like, how are we going to grow this brand in this industry where you mentioned there's a lot of different options? We want to make sure that apprentice knows from day one that we support this industry, and that's why we do some of the things that we do with the JATCs, to do Apprentice of the Month, or to do when they top out, get a pair of pliers, or some of the easy tactics so that we're connected there. And then along with that, just some of the how can we support that JATC however they need us to support. It's not about us selling something; it's also about the support of the industry, and that's so. Kind of taking one step back, that's kind of how me and Mike, we connect. So Mike's obviously on the team, but Mike handles everything in the industry. So the way that we like to say it is he handles everything from a JATC, from our trade organization support, our bucket truck strategy, rodeo strategy, International Lineman's Rodeo, all the events that you guys see. That's this man right here. He's the one that manages and really put together the plan for it, and then I have the team that helps execute. We go out and execute, right? So that's really, and I'll let Mike talk about this. This is his baby, but we want to be everywhere that you guys are, and we want to have a good influence and be a good partner of the industry wherever you guys are. I'll let you take it from there.
Mike, the rodeo presence was phenomenal.
Well, thanks, man.
It's good.
Go for it. No,
sorry,
Mike, you're up.
So, just to, again, piggyback off what the Sarno says. The Sarno, he manages the team. And then what I've been telling people, kind of like new business development, so to speak. We got Brent Alfonso and Jeremy Hansen back here. They kind of execute the plan, and kudos to Brent back here for a lot of the ideas he's brought to the industry. The bucket truck idea, that is a great story. We will pull you up here when we're ready to talk about it. So going back to like the JATCs, right? One thing that we do and we passionately do is all of our marketing dollars goes back to the industry, right? So that's why you don't see us having sponsored basketball stadiums or a NASCAR or college football benches or baseball left field. It goes back to the support of the industry, because that's what's more impactful, and kind of what Sarno said, like from the apprentice from day one. He recognizes a brand, he understands a brand, he knows that we're supporting, right? This is no, hey, here's our support, here's a cash donation. It's here's our support, here's the products you're going to need to be successful throughout your career. So day one, you're going to be armed with the right products through your whole journey of your career. That's where we want to partner with. We don't care about the other stuff like NASCAR. I don't know what that gets us, but we know that we've helped the life of an apprentice from day one throughout his whole career. So doing that, providing sponsorships and endowments of the products into the classrooms, the apprentice of the month that Sarno mentioned. They recognize an apprentice in the hallway, provide some Milwaukee gifts, they blast it on social. So that's where all of our support goes to drive the industry and just to make sure that, hey, we're here to be a partner. It's not, hey, buy Milwaukee. It's what else do you need? What else can we support?
I tell you what, it's impressive to see that apprentice recognition, and on social media or anywhere. You just walk into the apprenticeship and you see all of the apprentice for the month. I tell you, when we do interviews for apprentices, we got 1,000+ guys coming through there. All of them say, I want to be that next apprentice of the month. It's like an easy grab for them, easy win to say, you need to hire me because I'm going to be that next apprentice of the month. Is that who came up with that apprentice? Is that from the JTC or is that from you guys?
I got to give a shout out to Armando Garcia. Right? Armando, he's still with us on our service side of the business.
That was brilliant,
and it was developed from Cal Nevada. That's where it came from. He approached and say, hey, here's what we do, and then we look at it kind of like my other part of my job is how do we scale best practices, and that was a great idea. And so we had to take that, and then we wanted to, deploy that to all the other JTCs, or if there's a major utility that needs an apprenticeship program, that's how we support it.
That's pretty awesome. What do you think about that, Paul?
I'm about ready to go to apprenticeship again and get my tools.
No, you're going to go to Home Depot and get them. No, I think it's, we're trying to do that as a company too. That positive recognition when you see something good, like get all after that, right? Yeah. It's that like indirect approach rather than always beating somebody up all the time. It's like, oh, wow, that was awesome what you did. Let's just recognize you for it. Even if it's just a mention or, a shout out or something, or even a tool. And I'll tell you what, the guys like the tools. That's for sure.
Yeah. I didn't realize that kind of what you said, Mike, is that you put that marketing budget back into the trade. Like I didn't even think about that. Like, that's awesome. That's kind of a cool spin.
I think our listeners need to know that. Like, this is a company that's partnering up with the end user. It's like, here, let's give it back to the trade.
Back in the trade, yeah.
Back into the trade. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here, right? Well, I mean, we're getting these guys here and other guests is to give back to the trade. Here's cool stories, where companies come from, solving problems. It's not always just about the rules and tools, and it should be about relationships, culture, values, and to instill that back in our trade or our business. I think that's where we're trying to go with this conversation. I think it's going there, so that's awesome.
You're doing good. Driving. You're driving, man. I'm just pushing buttons over here.
I wanted to talk through. I know we kind of didn't talk a lot about your guys' history and all that, but I think this conversation's past that. Maybe we'll save it for another podcast. But I want to get into so there's some technology. It's the one key technology.
Yep.
So I can tell you, like when that first came out as a guy that's purchasing tools for construction hands, I'm like, dude, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna try to keep all my stuff where it's supposed to be on the truck, right? How did that come about? Because that's pretty innovative. Like, was that just something that came out of nowhere? I mean, I don't know. To me, I just think it's amazing technology.
Yeah, we all know at Milwaukee that our tools tend to get legs.
Yeah.
Right. That's very candid feedback we get from the users in the field.
We hear that every lineman has like 5 chainsaws at their house. So
if you could figure out how to one key the actual battery, would be amazing. Because that's almost impossible for me. I think like the batteries is just it's hard to manage it.
Yeah, and one thing I'd say is the cool thing with one key is the opportunity is endless.
Yeah.
And not only in the lineman trade, but obviously electrical, mechanical, some of the general contractors, some of the other trades that we're focused on. But where that came from was the need from the user, right? People were.
And I'm sorry, Steve. Tell our listeners what one key is.
Yeah, so one key is a tracking mechanism that we have. It's a Bluetooth tracking mechanism that we have built in with some of our tools, but we also have little tags that you can attach to other products that aren't necessarily Milwaukee, and it's a free service from Milwaukee Tool that we provide, and it's also an inventory management system as well that we can provide. Go ahead.
No. It's one key is like a whole system. It's like a digital connection, a digital job site connection, right? And as Sarno said, there's tracking, there's inventory management piece, and then there's direct tool connection, right? So you can change some configurations of tools. You can print out reporting for crimpers. That this crimp received full pressure. So it's like a
whoa. Real deal,
right.
man. That's
I'm gonna
nice.
look back over here.
No, you're good, man.
So, you think about it, we have an M18 system, an M12, MX fuel system, and then we have like a digital system, which kind of One Key is.
Yeah.
So and it came
super
from
slick.
a lot of business owners. Can you develop a management system to track these damn things? So
Wow.
And honestly, one of the couple of the bigger wins we had early on in utility were a big part of it was One Key, because utilities wanted to invest in one battery platform and then be able to track and manage it throughout the field and have a mechanism to do that. That's no cost to them.
Yeah.
So that was a home run for us. It's also within some of our power utility termination tools. It's built within, like Mike said, they're smart tools. They're not just, a mechanical motor. You pull the trigger and you can get reporting from them, which was a huge ask from some of our contractors as well, to prove to the
Especially on the
utility,
crimping.
hey, this is the job that I did and this is how long it took, et cetera. So
Wow.
Yeah, I think there's just so much, innovation throughout your company. And I know leadership drives it. I know there's always that willingness to improve.
yeah.
And in some cultures and in most cultures, I'll say, I'm good right where we're at. Right, I don't need more training. I don't need this. I don't need that. Like, we're perfectly fine. Big companies that aren't around. I mean, had that same notion, like Blockbuster and things like that. Right, they didn't want to push into the new era of technology.
And that's
I
where,
think we're very innovative.
that's where we would have been, to be honest, if our exec leadership
Oh.
team didn't come in and shake things up. We would have been the Blockbuster of the industry, to be very frank with you guys. And driving innovation as a mentality is what led us to the point we're at today.
And think about that I'm sorry, but that's a good point. Think about that transition. Blockbuster was here today, gone tomorrow, like quick.
100%.
And like you said, like if you guys didn't have that foresight or that vision, or like you're giving a lot of credits to Steve and the leadership team, executive leadership team, like if they didn't ever press that button and really gauge that growth, like this conversation can be way different.
100%. And like the author, his name is slipping my mind, but the guy who wrote the book, Disruptive Innovation, or coined the term disruptive innovation, and that's what we had to do, right? How do we disrupt ourselves? How do we disrupt the industry? How do we disrupt our customers? How do we disrupt our competitors? We call it disruptive innovation. Doing that is kind of where you've seen the growth of our brand. And then obviously, we have a lot of stuff we say, but one thing, it's grow or die, right? We need to continue to grow this brand, grow the verticals, grow our customer base, grow our industries, or we're going to die. So we don't like, what's one, paranoid is one of our, unofficial, one of our cultural.
Obsessed, I think we
Obsessed.
call it as a
Paranoid.
Paranoid.
Aliens.
We are paranoid.
We
though,
are
so
paranoid.
We're paranoid. We're going to get leapfrogged, and that's That's another one that drives us. And the one thing Mike just mentioned that I did want to go back to was, you guys got to remember too, for Milwaukee, our competitor, a couple of competitors had number one market share in cordless technology in that
80%.
mid 2000s time frame. And a lot of the investment was around NiCad, was the technology at the time. And Milwaukee doubled down on something called lithium-ion technology and battery-operated tools. And that is really what disrupted the industry. Everyone was going down this NiCad path, right? And we had nothing to lose from a market share perspective. I think they say we had like 1% or something like that at that time.
Jeez.
Yeah, so they were like, this seems like, we're starting to see computers use lithium. We're starting to see phones use lithium. Is this a viable option for power tools? Mm-hmm. And that's, fortunately for us, that was something that they invested in, and we came out with the M18 platform in that 2007-8 timeframe. And since then, we've expanded that very, very significantly. But that was the game changer for all of us. That's why we're all in this room here today, was that.
Absolutely.
That investment in lithium-ion technology.
When you say improve or die, I think that's interesting, because I think from a product standpoint, there's no problem with giving a new product to a lineman and be like, you want this new product? Oh, bring it on, right? Like, I'll take that. I'll take 5 of them. Matter of fact, no matter what it is, But when it comes to either a self-improvement, or to constantly move forward in yourself and invest in yourself, whether it be training, whether it be reading or writing or whatever you're doing, like strengthening, your psyche, it seems like there's a little bit of a pushback. And I don't know how you guys handle it in Milwaukee, but I'd love to hear it, because I think the company, you guys are just outstanding, culture base. But when it comes to like that personal growth, like, what are you guys doing to push the personal growth, because the product stuff is kind of, that takes care of itself. Lineman wants a good different, I don't know, widget, or wants the trigger in a different spot, but I can tell just the guys I deal with from Milwaukee that you guys do put a lot in personal growth too. So what are you guys doing
from a talent and development standpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say over the last 2 years we've invested thoroughly in talent development. Again, I think we've added thousands of people in the last couple of years. That's a crazy number, right? And how do you immerse those people into the culture? How do you make sure that they're ready to take on new positions? So we have what we call, really a farm system. You come in, you do Power Tool 101, right? Like 101, 102, leadership development program is what we have at Milwaukee Tool. You learn the basics
does that
of
leadership. Are you guys use a consultant, or what are you guys doing?
No, everything's in house.
Everything's in house.
Everything's in house, and to give credit to a guy, John Finch, who should, we should give credit to for a lot of us, is you learn the basics of the industry, right? So you get to learn the really labor management dynamics. You get to learn about the different trades. You get to learn about our tools. So you go through different steps throughout your career. And that includes.
You guys get any pushback when that happens? Are you getting any more training? Are you getting any of that? Like where you guys have to step in and do any, or is the culture just so badass that if Sarno Steve is gonna roll out some new training for everybody, new sales managers, whatever, oh yeah, we're doing it, because that's our culture, or because you're already established that, or is there some leadership skills that you guys have developed along the way to get that buy-in? Because I can tell you, I can go take a crew a PowerPoint and here, click this link and we're going to do some training. But is it sticking though? Is it really sticking on the culture base, or is it something I got to do a follow-up on? I guess that's where I'm kind of trying to go with it is, from a leadership perspective or a culture, how do you guys establish that? How do you get the buy-in? How do you get that buy-in?
I think it's to be honest, it's at that point that we interview and we bring people in.
Good point.
It's
from the beginning.
From the beginning, no doubt. One of our cultural values is never satisfied, always improving, never settle, always improving. Mm-hmm. That's something that came from our field back to our exec leadership team that we documented. That's something that when we go through the interview process, that's who we want. And we have mechanisms in place to make sure we're vetting out that that's who that person is. So that when we bring them on board, they're hungry and they want to continue to help push the team forward.
And that's during the interview, people, we can train them and groom them to, drive business, drive sales, manage customers, but it's hard to teach them the culture. And that's probably the hardest part, not hardest part of the interview, but that's the part that when I interview, I look for. Is this person, will they fit the company culture? Will they fit the culture for linemen and the trade and stuff like that? Doing stuff like that and going back to our cultural expectations helps drive that message and like Sarno says, kind of weed out the candidates, or bring them onto the team, or repurpose them to a different part of the organization. So I mentioned it at the front. It's that scrappy mentality we look for at the beginning, right? Is when I build my team, I want them. I put together a team that's going to challenge me every single day, right? And I think that's how a lot of us look at it in Milwaukee is, how do you set up your team so that you can be challenged to make yourself better every day? And I think that's at the power utility level, but that's also, Jeremy's behind me. If you look at a guy like Aaron Jimenez challenges me every week, every month to be better, right? I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. He doesn't always only do that upwards. He does it downwards too. And that's having guys like Aaron on the team. And we're just talking power utility. We have guys like that throughout the country that are the rocks in their given markets, and they challenge their team, they challenge us. And to be honest, besides me mentioning some of the formal training that we have through our training and development team, making sure that we hire the right people, it's part of just the mentality at Milwaukee. It's almost really difficult to explain. I feel very, very fortunate to have the team that I have in place, because we have one mindset, and that's we're going to keep going. We're going to continue to try to win in this industry and make your lives better. Yeah, most leaders say they hire people that are smarter than him.
-1.
But I'm sitting next to you. Couldn't say it, so
he got you on that one.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, that's awesome, guys. I think it's very unique how you guys accomplish that. I try to peel that back a little bit just for all our listeners, but to even put it down at the crew level or at the employee level, just to know how much it takes to build a culture. It's not easy. Like it takes gradual, constant, it takes time. Interview. I like your comment on interviewing, because you can really set the expectations up front. Like, is this something you want to be a part of, or not, right? Like, this is what we're going to do. But I think that that culture like kind of takes care of itself too. And it's not necessarily the VP or a superintendent or even a general foreman like my level or foreman. It's the workforce, right? Like if somebody's, it's like the gym I go to. Like if somebody misplaces that dumbbell and puts it in the wrong spot, somebody's gonna say something to that person and say, "Hey, dude, that don't go there. Like it goes here.
Right.
Like put it back to where it's neat, right?" And I think that's where I'm trying to drive in our culture. And you guys are the same. It's that like that mob mentality, I guess, where the culture just takes care of itself, because it could go negative on you in a minute.
Yep.
Like you can be saying one thing, but your workforce is saying another. You know, and to reel that back in, is once it's gone, it's really hard to bring it back in.
Drive that alignment, man.
One thing we do that's cool that I was just thinking about as you're saying that is every person that comes into the organization, either Steve or someone from the exec leadership team sits in and they talk about our culture. It's specifically about our culture and who we are and what are some of those phrases that we use to define us. Just to level set it from day one, like this is who Milwaukee is. This is what you got yourself into, and again, I say it's not for everybody, and it's tough to integrate to if you're from the outside. But once you're a part of it, it's something special, and we all feel very fortunate.
100%, and then that culture, it's every day, right? Even with the family, even friends, and sometimes you have people that. You expect that for someone at a rental car counter. You expect the same type of culture. You're like, we're fast paced. We want to get it done. Do what it takes. When someone tells me no, I'm like, hold on. There's got to be another, customer service or whatnot. So sometimes we get spoiled by it and used to it, and probably have that same expectations for everyone outside of our company.
I do think you mentioned earlier about celebrating successes. I think that's another thing that we do that helps kind of build the culture. Yeah. We have a couple mechanisms internally that you get to share. Jeremy's had some great wins this year, but sitting behind me, and just being able to share a win in a given market, being able to benchmark it. Mike mentioned it earlier, and then share it with the team, and then have the team follow that path. That goes a long way. It went a long way for me coming up through the company, just to make sure we're a big company, right? But to be able to be recognized, you'll get chime in from people all the way up to Steve that'll chime in and say, great job, whatever. But that goes a long way for a young person coming into a company, knowing that they have buy-in and visibility all the way up through the chain.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that we do that helps build the culture for sure.
It's that small little indirect approach that guys appreciate.
100%.
Recognizing the hard work. But it takes leadership, man. I do. I think, we're all leaders here. And I think when we talk about leadership and we talk about establishing that culture, is there any principle that you can think that you kind of like your default leadership principle that maybe you, brought from the military, or maybe, growing up, that you can just kind of like default to if there's an issue, or even there's whatever you're dealing with? Is there something that you could share with?
I think there's probably, I'm going to say 3. The first one is taking care of your people. That's something you learned from day one being an officer or even an NCO in the military is, you don't take care of your people, they're not going to take care of you. And I do think that's in a couple of different ways. So that could be making sure if someone's not executing at the level that they should be, that you have that candid conversation with them to keep them moving forward. So that's, to me, that's taking care of them, but also that reinforced encouragement. And then that is just such a broad term to take care of them. But that goes from a family perspective, Mike talked about, like we are ingrained together. And that's a big thing for me is it's not just professional, it's personal too. So that's a big one for me. Another one for me is just hard work. Like I talked about the Philly mentality. Yeah. Like I expect from my team that we're not going to get outworked, right? Like that's just something in how I'm wired, if that makes sense. I'm drawing blanks. So I'm going to point to Mike on my third one.
Mine's kind of like the golden rule, right? Treat others like you want to be treated, right? If the team's piggybacking off of Sarno said again, so if the teams, celebrate success, right? I would like that recognition, give the team the recognition, coach them, coach them in a positive way, not, don't talk down to them, right? Like, what the hell are you doing? Give them that guidance to get them to the next level. So that's kind of the way I kind of run it is, that's how I like to be treated, positive, and make sure that the team's being held in a positive manner. I mean, it's a grind sometimes. So
yeah. I just thought of the third one. I'm sorry.
No,
No, you're gonna shut your mic off.
we'll splice.
It's probably the most important one to me, and I don't know why I just drew a blank.
It
on
happens.
That. But lead from the front. So
Awesome.
that's easily my biggest one, right? And hopefully my team knows. Like, I came up through the trenches of Milwaukee, right? Like, I've done those overnight resets. I will, if given the opportunity, I'll jump in and get my hands dirty, and I hope they know that. And I think that's up and down. At least the power utility team is. Again, and I think it's somewhat tied to the hard work piece, but never ask something of them that I wouldn't do. And if I've given the opportunity, I'll be the first one to do it.
100%.
Well, I can tell you guys from your entire team, you guys didn't mention it, but you guys do it so natural. You don't even realize you're doing it. And I think a core value for you guys, just meeting you today, is you guys spend a lot in building relationships. And you do it naturally. Like we were talking about, my background immediately. I can tell you guys, the guys behind you in the sales team, everybody I deal with, they're constantly out there building relationships and just, getting involved with anything they can get into. And I think that's a critical leadership principle for all of us in the trade. Whether you're a hand, whether you're a boss, whether you're a client, whether you're a vendor, like if we have good relationships, we can pretty much solve anything. If we're communicating, have relationships, if something goes bad, we can get through it. Maybe supply chains, because I'm sure that's been an issue, right? With supply chain, there was a time there we couldn't get stuff. I got a call from Armando directly and telling me, "Hey, man, like this is what's going on. I understand it." I didn't freak out. I didn't dump Milwaukee to go to a different vendor. Is because we had the relationship and the understanding to get through a challenge, right?
Yep.
So, hats off to you guys and your leadership team on that piece and driving those principles, all everything you mentioned. The people, the hard work, leading from the front. I think that's huge too. Like you're not going to ask your team to do something that you wouldn't do.
100%.
And you've been there. And I think all of us throughout the ranks, if we just treated each other that same way, we'd have just a really awesome way to be successful. A real easy way too. And we'll have some fun along the way too.
Yeah.
Right.
It is. Yeah. We got to have fun too at the same time. And we're doing this. We're having fun, right?
This has been great. I know we got some other things that we're going to work on here. But I do want to mention really quick, the repairs too, because I want to make sure we talk about everything Milwaukee. If I forget something, the red box repairs, that's awesome. I don't know if you guys want to touch anything about that, where that came from, or are you seeing any analytics where you need to improve on it? Is there things that you guys are evaluating? Like this tool keeps having this issue. Because I think that's awesome. And I'll just paint a picture. Like we do that with our rubber gloves, right? We're evaluating if there's holes, where there's wear and tear. We do that with our equipment, right? We're evaluating not just, okay, let's fix it, send it back out. Yep. We evaluate, is there an issue here? Is there a behavior issue that we need to get out there to the workforce or to the management, right? Hey, man, this tool shouldn't do this.
Yep.
Like there's some things going on with this crew or this behavior that's you guys got to, because something's going to happen, right? And if you're using a tool wrong, you can go into all that safety thing. Are you guys doing anything with that, with the repairs when you see them, you can mention?
Yeah, and just to speak to, you mentioned our red toe program. We have a red toe program. We have bumper. We have e-service. We have a couple different options for our end users. The one thing that we do, and I'd say again, it's somewhat disruptive from a service side of things, operational side of things, is so we do have an authorized service center network, right? That we can leverage, local distributors here that will repair your tools. But one thing we like to do with our customers that are on a program with us or whatnot is put them into the red toe program. The one thing that red toe does, so it's a hub and spoke model. We have 2 facilities now, one in Indiana, one in Mississippi. We have over, I think, I'm gonna butcher this number, but let's say over 300 in-house techs. So these are Milwaukee employees that are trained proficiently on how to repair our products, right? And the one advantage that gives us is exactly what you're saying. So we have a lot of data analytics around repair rates, what are failure rates, what can they go back to the product team with to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing as repeat failure. How can you build that into, the next engineering build or whatever. So I think the hub and spoke model gives us that white glove service back to the user, right? So we work with a couple shipping, folks like a FedEx, to work with them to get you guys the products back very quickly. That's been a win for us in Power Utility as well. It's just our repair turn time. If you have something go down, we want to get back to you in 10 days. I think the rate right now for in Greenwood and they're both, it's Greenwood, Indiana, Greenwood, Mississippi. It's a little confusing. I think we repair, we receive a tool, we repair them 99% of the time the same day. That's how fast the return time is by us being able to control the process. Everything that you guys deal with is the shipping and the lead times. So I think that's somewhat of the magic sauce is the quick turn times, right? It's us being able to control the process. It's getting fixed by people that have been trained by us. And then it's also being able to give those analytics back to our product team around repeat failures.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
And that's, again, talking to the user, right? Like no one wanted their tools to be without their tools for 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever it was. And our EVP, Bill Hughes, and our SVP, Dave Fuss, saw an opportunity to basically expedite it from that hub and spoke model. Took a different approach and how we can touch the user with a FedEx type of program from an e-service, or how we can touch the user from our factory service centers here. So with them taking that approach, it's really expedited the repair process. And then something else is a lot of our tools have a lot of electronics that are baked into it, so we can actually pull the analytics directly off the tool itself to see what's been causing it. Combining the service program and then the electronics, that's what really helps us kind of look at the tool quality and the durability, and if we need to make some changes, we can.
One thing, like talking about one key, if someone marks their tool as stolen and it comes through our service program, we'll actually let the person know. Yeah, we'll know.
Sorry, it's not coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. I can tell you, like, I'm looking at any possible way to get out in front of an incident, right? Like, and that's my job as a leader. That's my oath. It's like I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that my guys are home safely, and that's using analytics, right? Where we were can make really good decisions of where we need to go, right? And anything that I can to pull in to get that information, I'm gonna use it. At-risk behaviors on equipment, tools, like we're looking at all that stuff. So to partner with one vendor, I can tell you, if I had multiple vendors doing all that, it's impossible.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, this tool's failing here, or this, have an issue here. Like multiple suppliers or vendors, it ain't gonna happen. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's very innovative. Throw it in a box, send it back to us. We're gonna repair it, or we'll let you know what needs to be done with it, and we'll get it back to you. That's pretty awesome.
One thing that's cool with service too is you guys may or may not know, but we're getting more heavily into the equipment space. So leveraging lithium-ion technology. It's called our MX Fuel line. I don't know if you guys have seen some of our larger equipment, but we have a power source. We have a light. Yeah. So
MX Fuel. Yeah.
That obviously doesn't fit in a red tote. So
a lawnmower's not going to fit in a
lawnmower, right? So we've had to disrupt ourselves too, where we had the hub and spoke model, but now it's actually we talked about Armando a couple of times. He's leading that from a channel perspective with our service team. Is how do we build our network to support those types of tools? Because as you guys know, EV is a big conversation. We're going to continue to see investment in lithium-ion technology, and that's going to give us more and more capacity to come out with innovative products. They're going to get bigger and bigger, and we need to make sure we have the right infrastructure in place to support you guys as you invest in that. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Paul?
I'm excited, man.
We
some batteries in here.
We talked about what I want for Christmas, and I just thought of another one.
You're changing your list. Huh?
Yes.
Change it.
The Milwaukee lawnmower for sure. I don't know if you're getting any good feedback. When I saw the whole line, I was like, dude, I got to get that. How would I be the only one in my cul-de-sac with a Milwaukee lawnmower? I would crush it. What do you think?
Hey, man, you see some nice, you get all geeked out and get the nice lines in the lawnmower?
No, I don't even cut my grass now, but I would if I had a Milwaukee.
A fake grass?
Yes, a fake grass. Get out of here. Let's touch really quick on hand tools. We could.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a challenge for you guys, but I saw the Kleins, right? You guys are coming up with everything: channel locks, skinny knife. You name it. You guys. That's new to the power utility division, right? Am I correct in that, or kind of?
Some and
Newer.
Some of the tools
Pliers,
are?
Raul, too.
What's that?
They're called pliers.
they're pliers.
What I call them? Oh, Kleins.
They're
Lineman pliers.
lineman
Sorry.
pliers.
Lineman pliers.
Linesmen.
I will say, I was a part of
Lineman.
the ribbon cutting at the new school up in Woodland, and it was with a Milwaukee, pliers.
Change of habit.
Pliers. That's my point. I guess that's my challenge for you
Yeah.
guys is, me as a lineman, like I'm going to use my Kleins, and what's your thoughts on that? How are you guys trying to market that? Like trying to get that? Because that's a unique space, like trying to change a guy's hard hat, right? It's difficult. What are you guys doing in that space?
So a big thing we
Is it
talk.
working?
Stop. They're starting by you by switching the name up.
Yeah.
We can call them nines.
Yeah, nines.
Nine. So
Nines good.
How about that? Better?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I think me and Mike can tag team this one, but from my perspective, one of the things that we're doing that we talk about feedback from the user, and one of the biggest pieces of feedback has been if these were made here, I buy them, and we'll talk a little bit about what's going to be really our Made in USA campaign. We launched it last summer. In 2023 we're going to launch a full line that's going to be focused on electrician and lineman hand tools. So we just opened up a brand new facility in West Bend, Wisconsin. That's going to be 100% dedicated to driving innovation with lineman and electrician hand tools. So that's going to be a big piece to us, because that was honestly one of the biggest things was country origin. And I know Mike will kill me if I don't say this. Big thing for us from a global manufacturing standpoint is one thing we don't do a good enough job of is taking credit for we've never left the United States. So we've never, we've always had manufacturing here. We are one of the largest employees in the state of Mississippi from a manufacturing standpoint. We have multiple facilities down there. We're opening up a new one in Cookeville, Tennessee. We just opened West Bend. So we're investing in Made in the USA for sure, without a doubt. And that's just one piece of it. And I'll turn it over to Mike to talk about the rest.
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to a lot of stuff we already spoke about, right? So we got to drive the culture, right? So we got to get our team involved to go deliver those new Made in USA hand tools to our apprenticeship program. So there's different bullets and aspects of what we're going to do. We understand it's going to be an uphill battle, but we had to first off Milwaukee brand, right? We know for a quality and a durable brand, so we had to develop some new. When we talk about disruptive innovation, we're going to disrupt that market with some new innovation of those type of products. And then go deliver the message to the apprentice, to the journeyman, to whoever, to drive those key points of durability, Made in USA, and trade focus, and then, hey, we truly support the industry, right? So armed with all the stuff we talked about today, it's going to be what's going to be help us drive that message and deliver the new products second half or whatever next year.
I think one thing, hopefully, again, I know we mentioned bringing you guys up, and that's on Brent back here. Hopefully he's taking notes when exactly we're going to get you back up there. But one thing I think you'll notice when you come up and tour the facility is the best-in-class manufacturing capabilities that we have and what they did. We talk about disrupting ourselves all the time. It's hard to really verbalize what they're doing up there, but when you step in the door, you realize it's something different. And I think I know when you guys get these in your hands, they're going to feel different. We've taken a ton of feedback from users, and we've integrated that into the manufacturing process. So, we always hear from linemen how exactly they break in their pliers, right? And we're going to do that through the manufacturing process.
Usually it's by welding.
Well, we've heard
Working on Energize.
Arc flash.
Little arc flash,
Yeah.
little welding is typically what I see how they get damaged. But
we've heard the way you break it in, soak it in oil.
break it in, not
Break it
break
in,
them.
yeah.
Put it
I
in
got you.
sand.
Some sand, little grit. Yeah.
Sand and grit, give it to an apprentice, all sorts of stuff. And so, best in class manufacturing, think about it. We opened this facility, this year, July of this year.
Yep.
So brand new state of the art facility, $55 million investment for this. So we're using the best equipment, which allows us to make the changes and really deliver that quality good that we promised the market.
But
That's awesome.
I do think, like Mike said, I mean, it's we realize the other brand has a long-standing history in the lineman trade, and completely respect that. Our job really is to how do we bring something different to the table and and hopefully when you guys see the design and the feel of it, the product will speak for itself.
Well, I think it's here too. Like, we're talking about product, and I get it, but I think we're talking about what's behind the product. And me and Paul will go back and forth on this again, but I have no problem with it. But for me as a consumer, that Made in USA campaign, We Never Left campaign, We Take Care of Our Employees campaign, we care about the industry as a workforce. We're out with you guys. We're at your JETCs. I can tell you that's companies that we want to partner with. And I think what your guys' strategy is very, very innovative. I've said it before. I'll keep saying on this podcast. And these are companies we want to partner with. Awesome, and I think what you guys are going to do with the hand tools, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's going to be awesome.
Dude,
good luck to you guys.
Thank you, man. Thanks. The cool thing for us, and I've said this to someone recently, is, a decade ago, if you were to talk to an apprentice, like, the mindset was much different than it is today. And actually, at the International Lineman's Rodeo, a couple of folks came up to us, and they were basically like, since you guys have started doing what you're doing at the JATCs, like, that whole early generation that you guys partner with now they're journeymen and they're general foreman, right? They have a huge influence, and we're starting to see that shift because of what you guys did a decade ago. It's now starting to ring true. So that that we don't always get to hear that. So when people just came up to you and at the Lineman's Radio and said that, we're like, I guess what we're doing makes sense and it's working.
We've heard some good compliments to what we're doing, and it makes it all worth it, man. I tell you, the struggle and the fight, the grit, right? The fortitude to get where you're going. It's tough. And when you hear the little feedback, just one guy or an apprentice, it's nice. It's nice to hear it. 100%. You guys earned it, though. You definitely totally earned it. And I'm going to let Paul move on here. The show, appreciate you guys. We're not done by any means, but I'm going to transition over to Paul. He's got some stuff for us.
Thanks, Raul.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Raul.
Is this where all the gifts come out?
Yeah, we got some Milwaukee gifts to give you guys.
Got a pin.
I said it was a Milwaukee Christmas, not Sturgeon Christmas.
Real quick, before we move on, I want to make sure I cover on a topic real quick. If you guys can touch on product development, anything to add into that little genre?
Just as far as how we do it?
Whatever you got, man. Whatever you got.
Yeah.
Send it.
One thing. Go ahead, Mike. You go first. You go first.
No. We have different business units, right? So there's some similarities, and obviously there's some differences, right? And it's learning from the trade, learning from all the individuals out in the field, man, and then taking that feedback, compiling it, like I said before, and coming out with a new product. And we try to be what we call lightning speed to market, right? We want to be quick and swift to market, but we also want to deliver the best product out of the gate, right? We don't want any hiccups, anything. We don't want to stumble out of the gate. So our marketing team starts with you guys. They come out, ask questions, do research, move on to the next. Because what's going on in California is it's different than what's going on in Texas and different what's in Wisconsin. So they don't just go to one market and say, okay, we're ready to full scale this type of product. It's different markets, different inputs from different customers.
Oh, cool,
awesome.
I think. For us, so we talk about the power utility team. So we have two different, really, if you break it down, really two different teams on the sales team for us. We have a team that's dedicated to the distributor. They're like our account management, right? We don't sell direct. Everything goes through distribution. So they manage our relationships and programs, promotions, et cetera, through distribution. And then we have our job site solutions team, which is the power utility team is a part of. And in a lot of ways, we are the forefront of new product development. We're that extension to you guys for our product team. And that's why you mentioned building relationships. That's why what our team does is so important because, not to get sidetracked, but even we went and saw Eugene today at the JATC. One of the first things he said to us was a tool idea. That's one thing that linemen are not bashful about is an idea that we need to work on in order to bring it to market. But that's the beauty of having the robust team that we have on the utility side is the connection with you guys so that we can get fed those ideas. We feed those ideas back to product and they start to build out really the roadmap, if that makes sense. And that's part of the secret sauce between relationships and our job site solutions team and our connection to the user is we can understand what the need is in the field and what we need to do to bring it to market.
And then one other thing too is this reminded me is we also have vertical marketing, right, where we partner with the JETCs, our trade orgs, rodeos, the bucket truck events. But we want to align the industry initiatives with our initiatives, right? We want to make sure what's coming down, the next, few years of the industry shift, what's going to be changed, what's going to be different, and how can we take 2 steps ahead of it? And that's how we partner, and that's how we market, and that's how we get with part of the reason, or part of the way we get with our new product development team and go, hey, look, we sat through a conference, or we understand that this trend is going to go this way. Like in California, a lot of stuff is going to be buried, or some stuff starting to become buried. A lot of fire protection. So
covered conductor,
tree wire, all that's wrapping poles as well. So our team has taken that information, and we're looking at certain products to come out that, hey, we can help make you guys safer, more efficient, more productive. We want to hammer home all those type of points. So a lot of stuff goes on. Like I said, a lot of moving parts, but it's pretty cool to see it. And again, it comes from you guys in the field providing that feedback.
And right now we have products that can cut, crimp, connect anything that you guys deal with. Mm-hmm. And so right now part of our strategy is filling the gap. So the beauty is we have the kind of the basics, if you will, not the basics, but we have what you guys need in order to get the job done. Now, what can we do to start filling those gaps? And like Mike said, not every utility uses the same types of connectors, et cetera. So how do we put a roadmap together to fit all the different geographies and whatnot? So,
I could appreciate. Hold on, Paul, for a second.
You're good, man.
I picked up on a leadership quality there when you guys were talking. I said you guys build relationships, but right there, I just noticed one, and you guys listen too. You guys are like listening leaders out there. It's just awesome because you're listening to the feedback from the guys, right? And then your team, when you give it to whoever's got that action item to run with, they're listening. And I think the whole culture, building a relationship and listening is really driving a lot of your success. And then obviously building a cool tool at the end of it. Like, it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
One thing, not to go too far down this path, but I love that comment because one thing we did probably, I think during 2020 that we did, we all did an exercise around listening, right, and asking questions. As a salesperson, let's say you can get stuck in the trap of selling features and benefits and selling a promotional flyer. But in order to really connect with the user, you got to ask the right questions to understand their needs, their wants, et cetera. So I think it's something that is one that comes from tops down as far as how do we understand what you guys need and how do we build a relationship with you. It's not by forcing product down your throat. It's by understanding what you need. Yeah, so I love that comment.
There you go.
That's dope.
Secret sauce for free.
Thanks. To give you guys a little free, took notes, a lot of notes. This is probably one of the better in briefing of a podcast that Raul and I had. We had so many directions where we wanted to go. Raul really loved that culture aspect and really peeling that onion like we try to bring out to the audience today. But I was trying to explain to Raul, I said, they typically a tool manufacturer, in my opinion, is not going to get that chance. They're going to only get that chance when a lineman's at the store and a craftsperson's at the store. They pick that tool up. That's your one message to make that impact. And like you said, everything goes into that product development. Maybe 95%, maybe 5% of that 95% of the people that are buying the tools are looking at how much are you investing in your workforce? How much are you training? How do you value? Are you made in the USA? But the other 95%, like you got 5 seconds to make that impact and make me want to buy that tool. So once again, this was pretty cool for us to kind of chop up and have a good time with. So
I think one thing there, sorry, man, not to chime in there, but
no, this is
one of my favorite topics that Mike probably knows I'm already going to say is one thing about that comment is that we need to take that into consideration. And one of the things that we do from a thoughtful design standpoint is the ergonomics piece, because we want to make sure that it does feel good in your hand and it can be that silent seller for us. Because if you pick it up and you don't have that connection to the brand, you'll put it right back down and buy the one next to you. So ergonomics and the design process for us is an extremely big part of the new product development process that we have guys and gals go out just to make sure it feels right.
Absolutely.
With you guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about different hand sizes, different just center of gravity, just all kinds of gloves, rubber gloves, no glove. I mean, actually no glove. I won't say that, but it just all kinds of applications. Yeah.
Not yet.
So when we first entered the space in like 15, we had our 2765, which was our hard money gun, right? Mm-hmm. And at that point, it was to remove the gas drill or the hydraulic tool and go to battery.
Thank goodness.
And we awesome. And we did it, right? But then we started hearing the feedback like, hey, that's great that we're making that switch, but hey, I got to wear a class 2, class 3 glove to operate this thing. And we said, okay, we need to make a change, right? So that tool was out for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and we quickly went to the 2865, which is a longer handle, to take in consideration of you guys wearing the gloves on it to make it more comfortable, more user-friendly. So we're quick to make those adoption or those changes, so to speak, because, again, it goes back to the user feedback. We didn't say, sorry, man, we'll wait 5 more years. It was like, oh, shit, we're hearing this? Like, let's go. Let's make that change and let's fix it.
Let's do it right now, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, man.
You ready, Raul? You want to get down? Want to get down and dirty? Get your sleeves rolled up? Looking all
ready to
blasted.
Go, man. I'm ready.
I like how you threw that gym flex in there.
Little gym flex.
So are you the guy busting the chops, or are you the guy that's misputting the weight?
Nah, I'm the guy misplacing the weight.
You're the enforcer?
No, it wasn't a brag. It was just
100-pound weights.
Get out of here. Move on already. Let's go.
All right, here we go. You guys' favorite segment, Pause with the producer Paul. We're going to get into some questions from the gram. Raul, you're pretty famous on the gram at California Line Works. Check Raul out.
Check it out.
All right, here we go. We got a few questions for the Milwaukee team. First one up from at Johnny_T90. When will you be improving Sawzall blades and wood drill bits?
So
there's a tee up.
Oh, was it Johnny? Thanks, Johnny. No, hey, we hear you, right? We said throughout this podcast, continuous improvement. We always want to reinvent ourselves and come out with products, right? So, hey, the Sawzall blade and the Sawzall is a heritage product of ours, right? That's our name, and we got to stand by that product. And hey, we understand that sometimes people may be able to come out with a product that leapfrogs us. We talked about being paranoid, and we don't want to be leapfrogged. So, stay tuned for 2023. Some new stuff on the horizon, but we understand that feedback. We understand that. We were in that kind of situation, so we fixing it, and we got it.
Plasma cutter.
For me, I'd love to hear some deeper detail from Johnny about that. To be honest with you, I mean, if he can reach out to me or Mike, we'll find out what exactly the challenge is for him, and maybe we can position a different solution for him. If it's in our wheelhouse. If not, would love to get the feedback back to product and see how we can improve.
There you go, Johnny.
There you go.
We'll put some details in the show notes. All right, here we go. Next question from at Working Class Zero. Big buddy Ben.
What up, Ben? Got you.
Wants to know from the Milwaukee team, do you focus on other trade needs like you do for line work?
100%. So I'd say Mike mentioned earlier in the podcast, one thing that we do is we have our core trades that we focus on from a new product development standpoint. Initially for us, it was mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. That was clear direction from the top down. That's where we need to win. They are our heritage trades, where they help the brand over the years become what it is, what it was, right? And mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So that is a huge core trade for us. From there, we went into power utility. Obviously, continue to invest there. You're going to probably see one of our biggest launch years of all time in power utility this coming year. And then the GC space is something that we're getting heavily into. We have an extremely robust team there, and that's twofold. The reason we got into that's not only from a commercial building standpoint, but that's also with the push into renewable energies. A lot of the GCs are looking to self-perform that. So the solar, the wind, EV, you kind of name it. But those are really the I guess you'd say 4 main verticals that we focus on from Milwaukee Tool.
Right on, dope. All right, moving right along. Here we go. Line Trash _13. What made you guys get involved in making tools for the power line trade?
Yeah, so we spoke a little bit about it on this podcast, but branching off what Sarno just said about the MEP, right? So once we started establishing our core brands with the MEP, we had to look outside and say, what else can we do, right? And we saw an opportunity in the line trade that there was some stagnation, right? There really wasn't too much innovation at the time. There was a lot of brand fragmentation as well. Brands had, some brands had high force type of products. Some brands had drilling and driving. You had accessory leaders. You had hand tools, storage. It was all over the place, right? So from our organization, we said, hey, we need to help these guys out, right? So I don't need to tell you, but you guys, your office is a bucket truck, right? You have limited space to hold your tools, supplies, widgets, or whatever. So we saw the opportunity to come in there and go, okay, let's standardize it to what you said, to one brand, one battery, to eliminate 5 different brands, 5 different chargers. So once we saw that opportunity, we came out with high force, drilling and driving, cutting, lighting, and have expanded that brand. So we saw the opportunity that we can drive some innovation and really have that, I guess, standardization on the same front.
The other piece just to add there is we talked about relationships. We talked about trade org strategy. Our one of our largest partners in this industry is the NECA and the IBW and electrical training lines. And we were developing tools for the inside electrician, and we kind of got you guys are missing a whole big market over here in the lineman trade. And that woke us up. And our product team, Capriva, Scott Tison, Paige Bovard, Corey Dickert, they put together the plan and said, hey, let's address this market. And that's really where it came from.
Dope. Thank you. This next question comes from, you guys might know of him, Ryan Lucas, Powerline Podcast.
Oh, man.
What up, Ryan?
Next question.
Guys, do me a favor. Check out episode 91 of the Powerline Podcast. Ryan features both Steve and Mike. They do a great job. Home runs. Once again, back in August, episode 91. Ryan just says no question. Just want to say these boys are the best. So you guys get off the hook.
Awesome.
Much love, Ryan.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
All right, last question from the gram. Here we go. At Clayton Loback. He's going to be Clayton Loback Jr. here. The material handler here at Sturgeon, Lecture, California. Obviously, he's going to be a little cold here. He wants to know what's Milwaukee's thoughts on making a battery-powered heater.
You got the jacket already. What's he want?
Yeah.
It's California, man. Come on, Clayton.
Hey, we have in our business units, right? We have like our drilling and driving, cutting. What we mentioned, we also have what we call lifestyle, right? And under lifestyle products, there's the heated gear, the heated jacket, heated gloves, heated mid layers. Now, we also have fans, and we have some other stuff in the pipeline for heating type of products. So,
Or just have Clayton work harder, right?
or yeah. So yeah.
I mean, job sites are a focus for us, so I would just leave it at that. I mean, we have a robust roadmap into the future.
Right on. Here we go. All right. I got some questions now. I doctored these up, but this is Raul's favorite segment. He starts squirming a little bit. He's been bored over there hanging out. We're going to go to Raul first.
Go for it.
As you grow in your career, position, and in leadership, do you find yourself more open or closed-minded to other leadership styles, Raul?
That's a good one. I can tell you when I first started, I was very uneducated, I guess. I think, but as I get older and wiser and fail a whole bunch, I think I think I'm more open now. I think I try to grasp. I mean, just this conversation here, I'm taking it all in on how these guys run their company and their division, I should say. So yeah, I think I'm more open now, and I think it's for the better. I think you have to be. You have to learn and you have to fail. But I'm just fortunate that I've had leaders that let me fail along the way and kind of learn as I go. And I try to do the same. So yeah, I'm more open, definitely.
Sarno?
Open, 100%. I'm same thing. I'm very fortunate to have been blessed by amazing leaders, both in prior life and current life. We have some amazing leaders at Milwaukee. Bill Hughes, Scott Tison. The beauty of, and I'm sure Raul and Michael agree to this, and Paul, is when I talk about both of those guys, they have extremely different leadership principles, but I learned something from each one of them, and I try to take whatever I can from both of them to continue to make improve as a leader myself.
Mike, put you in the caboose there. You got anything to follow up on that?
Oh man, absolutely. Same thing. Just open-minded, right? You got to continually challenge yourself and learn, right? So same thing. We have different leaders in the organization, and you learn little bits and pieces and try to mold it into your own type of leadership skills.
Right on.
Yeah, well said.
All right, next question. We're going to go from November 29th episode of the Ed Milet Show. His guest was John O'Leary. John tells a story of how he was a burn victim at 9 years old. Check back on the episode. It's an incredible story. Let me get to the question here. He was severely burned and had a very slim chance of living. So now fast forward. So John is now back at home recovering. He's at the dinner table. His sister then picks up the fork and begins to help John eat. The mom interrupts the sister and says, "Put down the fork. If John is hungry, he will eat." The sister is confused at this point because John is badly injured. But the mom says again, "If John is hungry, he will eat. 2 hours later, it's just John and his mom at the dinner table. At this point, John has made a mess and flipped the plate over a few times, but John did find a way to eat. The discussion on the show then becomes that the mom made a decision to teach John that his problems are not going to go anywhere, regardless of his circumstance. And if he wants something, he will find a way. My question presented to you guys is that, was there a point in your career that stands out that you made the decision that you're going to lead? You stopped looking around for other people to take that brunt, and you decided, if I want change, it's going to be right here with me. Steve.
Little baby, I'm up first.
Wow.
Honestly, for me, it's when I was given the opportunity to take the power utility team. I've had a lot of leadership opportunities over the years, but this was one that I knew that, I mentioned Scott Tison a couple of times. He's a great manager, great boss, great leader. But he kind of gave me, Jeremy and Mike, the keys, if you will, to say, if you guys can make this work, we're going to invest here. And, he had some oversight over the years, but it was really, he challenged all of us to build it, build this thing and let's see where it goes. And that's really, for me, like, I take so much ownership, like pride in what we're doing as a power utility team, because I think it was something that we built together. Brent's back there too, that it was that scenario, right? It was, here are the keys, figure it out. So that 100%.
Mike?
Man, it's very, very similar, almost the same. In 2015, I had the opportunity to report to Scott Capriva, and it was myself and another individual, Russ Carlson, that says, we have a strategy built for the utility. We need someone to go execute it. Here's the playbook, which it was kind of blank. Figure it out, basically, right?
Yeah.
So we had to go figure it out, right? And then quickly we hired some other individuals, Brent Alfonso here, and we had to work together to learn an industry we knew nothing about, right? I remember I called them outside electricians. Boy, did I get my hands slapped on that one. Quickly learned it's linemen, right? Or there's other stuff. So able to take an industry and how to tee it up to a large corporation, large company, how to take all the fact finding, how to work with product, how to work with marketing, how to work with leadership. And basically, our company's chugging along on MVP, and that's where all the wins are. And we're just slowly making a win here, making a bigger win, bigger win here. And we had to take all information, and we had to scale it and then package it up. And then leadership, Sarno and Apodaca got hired, and then us three started taking it. It was a little stressful time in our career, but it was a fun time, and it was basically kind of like that thing, quit. It was on us now.
It's on you.
It was
100%.
on us. Figure it out, and now we've grown the business. Yeah. So,
Thank you. Raul, can you add any value? You got any stories?
This is great. I mean, what you guys said there is awesome. I mean, the story that you told is very heart wrenching, obviously, and but you can put yourself in that space, right? And I can tell you, I think for me personally, back to the question is, I had the opportunity to come to Sturgeon in 2015 with not really a lot of work out in front of us. And, Richard Reyes is a mentor of mine and asked me to come out. And I didn't know if I was going to do it or not. I was in a really good place at the time. So it was really uncomfortable. But, to have the opportunity to come up with, I guess, start your own brand, like the branding, not just from a product or a job site, or it is actually just like building it from the ground up. And I really thought at that moment, this is your opportunity, because I've always had a passion for leadership. Brent, like you said, I've had leadership roles and as well in different companies, but to come here to kind of make your own brand and to kind of push, your own thoughts and processes and passions, and I think that was the opportunity for me, and I took it and I went for it. But we've said it here before, like, you can lead all you want, but if you don't have people, you're not a leader. So you have to be able to get the buy-in and the culture and the, that fire in your people to build a team. And I think here it allowed us to do that, even though we started small, to grow in a sense that we can be proud of. And I wouldn't have changed anything. I think that was probably my turning point is coming here.
Dope.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Next question. Here we go. Moving right along. AMC Networks. You're probably familiar with them leading the charge with shows such as The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, and Mad Men. They're facing some challenging times with a large-scale layoff in the works, and they have recently seen their CEO exit the company after a 3-month tenure, as well as the AMC Networks chair, James Dolan, stating that the mechanisms for monetization of content are in disarray. He goes on to say that it is a confusing and uncertain time in our industry. This is all according to MSN.com. My question to you, Mike, is that you are leading a third-party team tasked with hiring a new CEO. What are you looking for in your search?
I mean, it goes back to leadership qualities, right? Which we talked about today. Does the person, I mean, they can be inside the industry, they can be outside the industry. Do they have clear direction? Can they guide the team? And can they basically deliver the product to the customer, right? If they didn't do that, then it would be something that no one would be watching, right? So from a third party, we would, Jesus, man, this is going to be edited out. But no, I really truly do. I mean, it's got to be leadership quality. Are they clear and concise? You know, there was the guy from Ford, what's his name? Alan something. He came from Boeing. And I remember in the meeting room, I was watching a story that he came into with all the executives, and they were kind of snide with him that, you know, this guy's out of the industry. And they said, you know, hey, you're not in the automotive industry. How are you going to do this? How are you going to turn this company around? Ford, right? Largest brand in the automotive industry. And he said, you produce a 10,000 pound vehicle that has 10,000 moving parts. I was producing a 100,000 pound vehicle that had 100,000 moving parts, saying that, hey, it's something, even though it's different and similar, right? So you would have to find that individual who has that passion, who has that delivery, who can come in there, lead the team, and then just make those changes.
Steve, you want to add to that?
Awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, it'd be someone that had a clear strategic vision, how they were going to come in and disrupt how they were, you know, one of the, you know, I'd say bad words at Milwaukee's, that's how we've always done it. So someone that would come in, disrupt from that perspective, and then also a passionate leader that took care of their people. I mean, that would be the two people I would look for, someone that gave me that sense that they had a vision, and also someone that was going to build a team around them that was going to, you know, help build the future.
Dope.
I like it.
Raul?
I think you guys hit it spot on. Leadership qualities, you know, I think that's going to be the first thing. The vision and passion and what you're looking for, strategic, right? I think those are all great. For me, you know, those intangible skills are also good. You know, building relationships, being humble, listening. And I'm sure if you're applying for this job, you probably have a pretty good smarts around them, you know, business smarts. And I think if those all line up, I think if you get somebody of all these qualities, I think you'd be well off. You'd be good. You'd be producing some good Walking Dead shows again.
Right on, dope.
Dude, that thing went 10 seasons.
That was long.
Is it over?
I think it's over.
It's on Netflix now, like 10 seasons deep.
Yeah.
I stopped like season 6.
Yeah,
that's what I hear from everybody.
Only can't kill so many zombies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look out, zombie.
Here we go. A few more get through right here. Tua Tagovailoa, QB for the Miami Dolphins, recently said in an interview that last year he questioned his ability to play at the professional level. New head coach Mike McDaniel put together a 700 play tape to show him how good he actually is. Tua goes on to say, I think anyone here can attest to someone believing in them and how that changes the way they see themselves. But also things around them. So perspective. Raul, how important is it for you to let your workforce or your coworkers to let them know that you believe in them?
I think belief is something is that stepping stone to buy-in, right? I think you have to be able to get the workforce to do, or anybody, I say workforce, but anybody in management has to, you know, get that buy-in from the workforce to, you know, accomplish certain things. And it's not always going to be easy, right? And you're not always going to, you know, be the best at it. So I think what the coach did there was good. He kind of saw that his guy was down and out a little bit, needed some, needed a build up, and it's a leadership tactic to even to have the conscious awareness to see that it's critical. It's like putting your arm around somebody, say, it's going to be okay, buddy. Let's go. Let's move forward. Right. Let's handle it. So to do that, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. I think you have to do that. It's like that positive recognition. I think you have to do that once in a while. And I think that'll buy into the belief.
Mm-hmm. Steve.
So I think for me, one thing I struggle with, I'd say, let's say as I've come up through my career and I've gotten to at the VP level is imposter syndrome, right? Is where you're at a point where, your peers are once, maybe your managers, let's say. And I think for me that it's a scenario like that. Someone stepped in and basically said that same thing, like, you're here for a reason, right? And that gave me the confidence to step up and stop, hit the hole running downhill, right? So I think for me, it's extremely important as a leader to make sure you're recognizing that situation and you step in and you make sure that person knows the path that they have and the runway that they have and the influence that they have. So I think it's one of the most important pieces of being a leader is being able to recognize that and know when to step in and reinforce it.
Right on.
Awesome.
Mike, can you add to that? I know it's put you on the caboose there.
All right. Yeah. The individual is in that role for a reason, right? They were vetted, they were able to do it. And sometimes, people get down or they may be distracted, right? And it's not being a boss, it's being more of a coach and a friend, right? Talk them through it, walk them through it, understand what's going on. Home life could be something, business life could be something, but just kind of really resetting those expectations, walking them through it, and just kind of helping them along the way.
I don't know. I like that. All right, last question. Here we go. We'll start with Raul first. This is a time of year where we're being grateful. Hang on, I screwed that all up. This is a time of the year where being grateful and reflecting is important. Raul, how are you approaching this time right here? Bring back that Christmas episode there for us.
Well, I do. I reflect on the year, obviously, year end, just in the position I'm in. But I look back at some of the challenges that we overcame, right, and some of the things we can improve on. I take a lot of opportunities to thank our workforce, right? Whatever I can do to say, hey, this is how we did, whether it's good or bad. Where do we need to improve in? I take it slow, right? Really try to get ready for the next year. We have new contracts coming up. It's, there's a whole bunch of new stuff coming out next year that we have to be prepared for. Not knowing what, economy is going to do or supply chain is going to do or materials going to do. Like, we try to really be very strategic so that we can have work out in front of our folks, because I think they earn it. I think we owe it to our people to be prepared, to challenge ourselves now. And I'm not stopping, that's for sure. I know a lot of people kind of hit, the cruise control, but I'm looking to press forward. That's what I'm doing.
Oh,
yeah.
Mr. Mike.
Yeah, end of the year's coming up, right? It's time to reflect and look at it. We've already building plans for 2023 to get armed and ready to hit the year off strong. But, from a professional aspect, we like to celebrate and reflect on the successes, what got us here, how to replicate them, how to move forward with them. On a personal note, too, it's, you have your family, to catch you if you fall. You got the family to be a support group of it. And, got to look for the joys for the little ones opening Christmas gifts from Santa, of course, right? So a lot of good time, right? Take that moment to reflect on the positives. Don't hinder on the negatives, and just learn from it, right? So,
Steve?
I think you just you asking the question made me think about I need to do it more, right? To be honest with you, there's a lot to be grateful for, not only from a work perspective, from a friendship user perspective, family perspective. To be honest, I think I'm glad you asked it, because I need to probably take some time to really think and write down a lot of the things that I am grateful for, because we're very fortunate. I'm very fortunate from a lot of different perspectives. So.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those great, those kind of those interesting questions how you guys can answer, because it's like Raul said, you're just kind of preparing for that next year, but you still kind of want to look back at that previous year and really take those lessons learned. So you guys answered the question great. Thank you so much for being good sports. Raul's going to start shutting the ship down here, but I wanted to personally thank the Milwaukee team on a local level. I want to thank Jeremy and Aaron Jimenez. I always kind of say Milwaukee doesn't say no. They're going to provide solutions. They're going to be on board for our branding. So on a local level, Jeremy and Aaron have done a great job. Brent, it's great to meet you. You guys, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it a lot. So thank you. Roll.
You still want that Milwaukee blower?
Hey man, it's on my queue right now here.
I mean, we got 4 dudes in here.
I got a guy.
Who's got a credit card?
Yeah, I got a guy.
No, man, I appreciate you guys coming in. I know it's this is exactly how we envisioned the podcast today. And for you guys to take the time out of your busy schedules to come down here and see us is I respect it and I truly appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, man.
It
And
was a great time.
yeah, 100%. And just want to say, thank you for all the kind words, for the swag. We rocked it today.
There you go.
For but just giving us the opportunity. That what you guys are doing is incredible for the industry. We heard Eugene say it today, like the line trade and the social media influence is absolutely incredible. And what you guys are doing for the trade to get out a lot of the leadership conversations, a lot about what's going on in the trade, and just air it out and let people talk about it. Like I think it's incredible, and I appreciate you guys inviting us in to be a part of it, because hopefully we got that message across today as part of our stories, that we want to be connected to the industry and to you guys and make sure that we're doing our part to drive it forward. So thank you guys both for this opportunity. It was incredible.
I appreciate it, man. Mike, you got anything else?
Yeah, man. We strive to be one of the best industry partners, and doing stuff like this, it's fun, it's exciting, we learn a lot, right? And as Sarno said, this is a well-respected industry. I'm glad you guys do this, right? And showcase people in industry and outside the industry of what it's all about, and really, elevate this industry as it should be, right? It's cool to meet the men and women. When we first started it was, why are you here? Now there's friendships. You go through my phone now, it's probably, 10% industry friends now, or even more than that, right? What I'm trying to say, but it's good to have be a part of this, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I just wanted to close out. We started the show today, and we're talking about branding and how important branding it is. But I think after today's podcast, I don't know the way I feel or what you feel, Paul, but I think you guys are more than just that red box underneath the tree, even though it's so dope to get, for sure. There's a whole company behind you guys, and I know you guys have a awesome workforce, and your power utility division is special, from the foundation, the leadership, the training. Everything you guys do at Milwaukee, even for our industry, is, I want our listeners to know that. Like, when you grab that tool, it's more than a tool, and I think we did that today, so appreciate it, you guys. We're going to get out of here, huh? You ready to get out of here?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to thank our listeners. I'm also going to ask you guys, share this podcast with everybody. I think this is a dope podcast. Awesome time. Great job, Paul.
Thank you.
So Promotional Partners, want to thank, obviously, Milwaukee Tool.
Sir.
Always supporting us all the time. Gelco. What up, Cat? Working Athlete. Klein Tools. Thank you, Klein Tools. Co Eyewear. What's up, Cody? Buckingham. Appreciate all you guys do. Definitely a special thanks to our rodeo partners, Dragonwear and Lift Safety. Also want to thank the entire Sturgeon Electric workforce. Without you guys, this podcast would not be possible. Keep up the hard work, and I want to tell all our listeners to be safe out there. Enjoy the holidays. Stay cut in, be fit for duty, and always be your brother's keeper. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.